The Cougars of Brigham Young University take the field at Notre Dame Stadium for the first time ever. BYU winners of 3 straight games and coached by Lavelle Edwards, one of college football's winningest coaches. Because of a rash of quarterback injuries, they're down to their 3rd quarterback of the season, but the vaunted BYU passing attack still very much in evidence this season. And Lou Holtz getting ready to lead his 10th-ranked Notre Dame team onto this field for the first time since Bill Walsh's Stanford squad ended Notre Dame's hopes for a national championship. It is a gorgeous fall afternoon in South Bend. Temperature in the low 60s, although it seems a little cooler with that 10 to 15 mile an hour wind. Sunny conditions today for Notre Dame and BYU. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Notre Dame Stadium. Tom Hammond and Chris Collinsworth ready for a match between the 2 most potent offensive teams in college football. Notre Dame #1 in total offense. They get there with a running game. BYU is 2nd, and they get there through the air. And a couple of interesting quarterbacks on display today. For BYU, as we mentioned, because of injuries, this is their 3rd quarterback, but Ryan Hancock has been very productive.
He really has, and Lavelle Edwards says that Ryan Hancock has the strongest arm of any BYU quarterback that he has ever had here. Now, exactly how strong is his arm? He's also a baseball pitcher with a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Take a look at this. That's strong.
Ouch.
Wow.
You may have some Irish defenders ducking for cover today as well. Ryan Hancock will be the quarterback for BYU. His Notre Dame counterpart, Rick Meyer, has had a very disappointing season personally so far, but maybe some of the pressure's off now.
I think that there is. We talked to Rick yesterday. He seemed to be smiling, seemed to be more relaxed. That was true of Lou Holtz as well. This is a football team that knows they're not quite fulfilling all the expectations, but they still think they can have a very successful season.
This figures to be a pivotal game for both these teams, and for more on that, let's go down to the sideline and John Dockery. Doc?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. For a BYU, a win here today against a quality opponent would raise their stock dramatically. For the Irish, a mid-season crossroads. Think about it. They need a win here today, one against Navy next week, before the heavyweights start parading on the schedule. And I'm talking about undefeated Boston College, powerful Penn State, and arch rival USC. So this season could go either of 2 ways for the Irish. They could be 9-1-1 or 8-2 and go to a bowl, or the unthinkable could happen, a disaster, and they could finish the season at 5-5-1 and miss a bowl game. So, Tom, are we talking about a must-win situation for the Irish here today? You better believe it. They got to have a victory.
Well, they come in off an open date, Doc, and a little banged up despite a week to heal some injuries. Their starting tailback, Reggie Brooks, has a hip flexor injury, and he is a little doubtful he may or may not start. We'll look at that starting lineup as they come on the field today. His backup, Lee Becton, is also injured, and the tailback situation a little iffy for the Irish today, and that is a key spot, of course, in the Notre Dame offense.
I talked to Reggie Brooks on the field just before the ball game. He said that he feels good. He's ready to go. Skip Holtz said that if either of the 2 would be held out here this afternoon, it would be Lee Becton. He seems to be a little more iffy.
Notre Dame won the toss, but the Irish elect to defer to the second half, and Lavelle Edwards and the Cougars will take the football first. Lavelle Edwards walking onto this field for the first time in history yesterday, and of course he is one of the premier coaches in college football. I asked him if he thought about Newt Rockne at all when he came in. He said not really, but the field is great. Here's the Mad Dog kickoff formation as Craig Hentrick sends it on its way for Notre Dame. Deep into the end zone and down there by Christensen, and the Cougars will take over at their own 20-yard line. Let's take a look at the starting lineups now. Ryan Hancock was the #3 quarterback to start the season, but he's completed 58% of his passes. Had he played enough, his quarterback rating would be the highest in college football. His 2 chief targets, Drage, who is 2nd in the U.S. in receiving yards, and tight end Byron Rex. Up front, Scott Brumfield has been named outstanding offensive lineman 6 of the Cougars' 7 games. And Notre Dame opens in a nickel defense, expecting Hancock to go right to the air. Instead, it's a play-action pass, and the man wide open to make the reception for BYU is Byron Rex, that tight end, and it is 13 yards and a Cougar first down. Demetrius DuBose makes the tackle for the Irish. Let's take a look at the Notre Dame starting defense. That defense has been susceptible to the pass this season. Peterson is the top tackler. DuBose still seeking his All-American form. A new face in the secondary. Freshman Bobby Taylor starts his second game, his first at free safety, as Jeff Burris moves over to strong safety. Ground corner Tom Carter today. He could have a big afternoon for the Irish. Again, a complete pass to Byron Rex. The tight end takes another first down grab from Ryan Hancock, who's 2 for 2. Peterson and DuBose collapse on him, but not until he gained 15 and another BYU first down.
Tom, if Notre Dame's defense insists on playing these zone defenses the way that they did against Stanford, they will end up with the same results. This is just simply too easy a pitch and catch game for BYU if Notre Dame just sits back in those zones.
There are the numbers on Byron Rex. He's 3-0 as a starter, although he began the season as the number 3 quarterback. Third consecutive BYU pass. Third consecutive completion. This one to Christensen, who is stopped just a yard short of the first down marker. Gain of 9. Jeff Burris comes up to make the tackle.
Demetrius DuBose this time had to cover the back out of the backfield. We talked with Demetrius yesterday, and he was insistent upon Lou Holtz and Rick Minner playing more man-to-man coverage. He thought it was crazy that they were playing all the zone that they play. Well, he got his chance right there, and BYU made him pay for it.
DuBose not looking good on that one as he didn't match up with the receiver. Hall and Willis, the split backs, and Rex again goes to the air. Completes it to Hall in the flat. Tackled close to the first down. It'll depend on the spot by John Covington.
We're seeing something very consistent with Notre Dame's defense. That teams that can throw the football are having a great deal of success against them. Lavelle Edwards' squad certainly physically cannot match up with this Notre Dame defense, but when they drop back and throw the football, they are every bit the match.
It's going to be just half a yard short of the first down. It'll be third and that much. Let's see if they go now to a running play. They have not yet, but they come with 2 tight ends, Rex and Saluoni.
Why would they?
They haven't misfired yet through the air. Fake to Hall. It'll be a pass. And it's incomplete. The first incompletion of the day intended for Byron Rex. But Brigham Young was putting pressure on the quarterback, Hancock. Now it'll be 4th and half a yard. What does Lavelle Edwards do here on the first series?
A little bit surprising. He's got his punt team on the field. That was a nice play by Justin Goheen. He didn't go for the play action fake at all, and who can blame him with the way that BYU was throwing the ball going up and down the field. Nice play by Goheen.
Joe Herrick is on to punt. He is the pooch punter for BYU.
Tom, are you surprised they're punting here? Inside the 50-yard line, the 43. Notre Dame's offense, you know, is the #1 offense in the country.
With only half a yard to go, they elect to punt, and their defense, of course, is a little suspect. BYU cannot down it. It sails into the end zone for the touchback, a 43-yard punt. And now the Irish offense will take the field in a scoreless game. Number 40 of Notre Dame is Reggie Brooks, the #1 tailback, averaging over 9 yards a carry, but on the sideline with a hip flexor injury. Lou Holtz telling us without practicing, he didn't earn the right to start, but he may still play today. Instead, it's Bettis, normally the fullback and tailback, and he rambles through for 11 yards. Jerome Bettis had a clear run on the right side, broke a tackle, and finally Brad Clark drags him down.
You think that Jerome Bettis might be happy about lining up at tailback. He's about 7 or 8 yards deep, 250 pounds, rumbling through the line of scrimmage. BYU may be in for a long day. I'm so surprised that Lavelle Edwards punted on that first series, because now he's given Notre Dame's offense a chance to have the hammer.
Here's Bettis trying to pick his way forward, and he does for 3 or 4 yards before, again, Brad Clark comes up from the safety spot. Rick Meyer, the quarterback of this Notre Dame team, completing only 45% of his passes, though he did break the Notre Dame career record for touchdown passes against Pitt a couple of weeks ago. And there you see with Brooks and Becton out, it's Bettis and Zellers. Taylor and Hall head the offensive line. I hope you saw the pregame feature on Aaron Taylor. Inspiring story about his comeback from drug and alcohol use. Bettis for the third straight carry slips and is stopped after a gain of 2 or 3, covered by Nathan Hall. Let's take a look at the BYU defense. 19th in the nation against the run, the Cougar stop unit.
We'll find out about that today.
And the Cougar front seven as good as BYU has had in recent years. Keyed around linebackers Harrigan and Hansen. Hansen is the leading tackler. Free safety Derwin Gray leads the team with 3 interceptions. Myers' first pass of the day. Tight end Smith, the intended receiver, and the pass knocked down by Nathan Hall, the linebacker, covering tight end Smith, and now Notre Dame will have to punt.
Nice coverage by Nathan Hall. Irv Smith is supposed to be one of the best, if not the best, tight end in the country, and Nathan Hall absolutely all over Irv Smith.
So Hendrick will punt for the first time today. Notre Dame's first possession ends up in a punt.
I have to say, of the two offenses, BYU was more impressive the first time they had the ball.
Johnston deep for the Cougars. BYU completing 4 of 5 passes in its first possession, but then punting on 4.5 yards. High sailing punt by Hendrick, chasing Johnston back to the 80, fumbles, but BYU gets it back. But the Cougars backed up all the way to their 6-yard line after a 55-yard boomer by Hendrick. Hendrick's punt, 55 yards, puts BYU in a hole. Only Mozada with a recovery saves the day for the Cougars. BYU and Notre Dame each punting on his first possession, and the Cougars true to form. No runs, 5 passes. That first possession of the football. Backed up deep in their own territory now. Hancock on a high snap. It's fumbled, loose, in the end zone. Notre Dame, I think DeBose got it for the touchdown. Turnovers have hampered the Cougars all season long, and especially the quarterbacks. They've had 3 different quarterbacks, and turnovers from that position have been crucial. A high snap to Hancock. He tried to hand it off. The ball fumbled, and DeBose recovers for Notre Dame.
As we've seen so often, teams that come into Notre Dame Stadium, especially in the first quarter, seem to take a little bit of time to get their feet on the ground. Remember, Stanford came in, made the big turnovers, had the safety early in the ball game. They bounced back. We'll see if the Cougars can do it.
Hendrick will try the extra point. And he boots it through. Demetrius DeBose with the recovery in the end zone, and a gift touchdown this time as BYU hands Notre Dame the score.
Just a high snap as they tried to make the quick handoff. Jamal Willis, I'm not sure exactly what he's thinking about. He ran right past the quarterback before he got the football, and you could tell that Ryan Hancock was trying to hand it to it. Just an underneath handoff, and Jamal Willis looked like his brain was elsewhere. The snap was high, but you have to get the football. You can't just run right by your quarterback. Watch Ryan Hancock saying, "What are you doing to me? I can't, there's nothing I can do with the football back there." Watch Jamal Willis, number 29. He simply ran right past. He didn't even look like he was anticipating getting the handoff. Maybe it was something fouled up in the huddle, but that is no way to start.
And now DeBose saves it before it goes out of the end zone, or it would have been a safety instead of a touchdown. Instead, it's 6 for Notre Dame. Hendrick with the extra point, making it 7. And Hancock, they say he's as cool as can be. All that experience as a relief pitcher in baseball in tough situations, and will test his poise here, having fumbled that one and giving Notre Dame the go-ahead score. As Hendrick will tee it up again, the wind blew it away, and a tip of the cap to Craig Hendrick. His 55-yard punt set up that whole situation. Notre Dame has been potent in the first half this season. Hendrick again kicking with the wind, and this one a short kickoff. Kind of sails at the last minute, but Haymouli heads upfield with it, bounces to the outside. Nice move by Haymouli. He lowers his head and ducks to the 30-yard line. And let's go from South Bend to New York. Jim Lampley has a college football update. Jim?
All right, Tom. Alabama is very much in the national championship chase, and here's the first touchdown catch of the year for sophomore star David Palmer. It made it 7-0 Alabama. A later Derek Lassick run gave the Tide a 14-0 lead. Since then, Mississippi has gotten only the 5th touchdown the Tide has given up this year. It's 14-7 Alabama now in Tuscaloosa. Tom and Chris.
All right, Jim, the Crimson Tide seemingly headed with an unimpeded route to that SEC championship game in Birmingham later this season. Hancock to the air, and he has a man wide open. The pass is complete and close to a first down. It gained about 9 yards. Steve Christensen then tackled by DuBose and Lane. And there's Ryan Hancock coming right back and completing the pass after giving up, well, he's a pitcher giving up that unearned run on the fumble gift touchdown to Notre Dame.
That time a perfect example of Anthony Peterson, who is probably the least among the cover people for Notre Dame. We'll check the measurement here. But one of the things that Lou Holtz talked about was, looks like a first down. One of the things Lou Holtz talked about was that he wanted his defensive linebackers to attack within the zones, that he felt that they were dropping to a certain position on the field and just standing there. And you can't do that against a good passing team. When somebody enters your zone, you have to essentially play man-to-man on him within that zone. That time, Anthony Peterson doing it perfectly.
Watsky comes wide to the left, Sterling wide to the right, and Hancock in the shotgun after picking up a first down. First running play of the day. Heimuli gains about 6 or 7 yards before he's tackled by Anthony Peterson. I think Notre Dame will live with that, won't they, Chris?
Absolutely. They would love to see BYU run the football all day. When you watch a WAC football game, we watched a couple of them on videotape, it is a track meet. I mean, it just looks like a touch football game. It's pass, 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 a draw, pass, pass.
Under center this time with Heimuli and Willis in the backfield. The action pass. Hancock with time completes the pass to Willis. And Willis still fighting his way forward. Nice run by Willis after he caught the football. He's all the way to the Irish 37. 15-yard gain.
Tom, I know Notre Dame is leading this football game 7-0 because of the turnover, but thus far, BYU's offense against Notre Dame's defense, it's been a mismatch. Notre Dame simply not able to handle the short ball control passing game of BYU in much the same way that they couldn't handle Stanford's.
Look at Willis. Strong run by Jamal Willis, sophomore from Las Vegas. Drage in motion and now in the slot. Hancock under pressure and is taken down by DuBose. Football is loose. Are they going to say incomplete pass? Let's see the ruling. DuBose on the blitz, smacking Hancock and knocking the ball free. They'll rule incomplete pass.
How happy do you think Demetrius DuBose is? He was crying the blues all day yesterday, saying if they would just let me blitz every once in a while, I can wreak havoc in that offense of BYU. And finally they do. They bring 8 on this play, and that is what Notre Dame is going to have to do. You can't give an offense like this the same defense time after time. Nice call by Rick Minner, the defensive coordinator.
From the shotgun, Anderson to Watsky and Drage. 3 wides in. Plenty of time on this play, and Hancock with that strong arm spots a man at the 5. It's Doman, and Doman out of bounds at the Notre Dame 5-yard line, chased out for the freshman Bobby Taylor, but the strong arm of Hancock finding Doman for 33 yards, first and goal.
You can't do it, Tom. You can't play these guys a zone. They have great success going down the field. Look at the time the offensive line gives Ryan Hancock. And Doman was down the field about 30 yards, literally standing. He was not even moving, wide open on the play. Notre Dame is getting killed in this zone defense.
Hancock has hit 7 of his first 9 passes, already 95 yards. First and goal, the give to Willis. Willis cutting back to the line of scrimmage and stopped there. Jeff Burris came up from the safety spot as the running play does not work. Let's see if Lavelle Edwards now goes back to the passing game on this second and goal from about the 5.
Watch Bryce Doman right here. He's going to come down the field and just find a hole and absolutely stop in this defense. Watch the safeties. They're going to clear out. Doman just stands there. He's waving his arm all the time in the world for Hancock. That's easy. That's too easy.
A running play, though, on first down with no gain. Now 3 wides come left on second and goal from the 5. And the play blown dead. A delay of game penalty against BYU, and you see the reaction of Lavelle Edwards.
Dead ball, delay of the game, against the offense, repeat second down.
But Chris, with this passing game of the Cougars, maybe giving that extra 5 yards here is not all that bad.
You know, it really isn't, because of the fact that you now have more end zone to work with. I don't think you'll see them try another running play. To run wide against this talented, athletic Notre Dame team will never work for BYU today.
Trying to keep that string intact. Hancock, a quick pass, complete to the 1-yard line. Otis Sterling makes the reception. He'll be marked out at about the 1 or 2. Let's see. Bobby Taylor covering Otis Sterling, the senior from Riverside, California.
Watch the man over Otis Sterling. Greg Lane is coming on a corner blitz. Great read. We talked about how young Ryan Hancock is, how he doesn't have much experience. Well, that time Notre Dame brings with a short corner blitz, but the problem with that is it was right in the area that Hancock was intending to throw the ball. That's a hot read, an easy pitch and catch. When you're down on the goal line, if you're going to come with that kind of a corner blitz, you have to walk up the safety behind and literally almost give it away.
Ryan Hancock already over 100 yards passing, but still no points for the Cougars. 7:29 left first quarter, 7-0 Notre Dame. Rolling, Hancock lost it for Rex, and it's incomplete. It'll be 4th down for BYU, and they've had trouble at times scoring from in close. Lavelle Edwards was telling us they've moved the ball up and down the field, but often have sputtered in the so-called red zone, and the field goal unit comes on.
Tom, I'm not going to make a friend with Lavelle Edwards here, but I've got to say I disagree with this. I disagree with the punt. This ball game is going to be a shootout. These two teams, Notre Dame averaging 38 points a game, BYU 31. You're down there on the 1-yard line. If you're going to go for it, you have to go for it. Run it twice, do whatever, but you've got to try and match points for this team.
David Lauder's 18-yard field goal is good. And Edwards electing to go for 3, gets on the board. The Cougars pull within 4 of Notre Dame. Tom Hammond, Chris Collinsworth, John Dockery from Notre Dame Stadium. Lavelle Edwards Cougars have moved the ball on Notre Dame, already 105 yards in total offense, but the fumble recovery in the end zone by the Irish make it 7-3 Notre Dame. Lauder's kick bounces once, then taken by Miller on the hop. And Mike Miller is across the 30 to the 32-yard line. And visiting with the BYU coaching staff yesterday, Coach Edwards and his assistants, you get the idea it's somewhat of a family. And if you take a look at the seasons they've been together at BYU, that is certainly uncommon in this day of high-pressure college football.
Yeah, Lavelle Edwards is 3rd among all active coaches with a 74% winning percentage, behind only Tom Osborne from Nebraska and Joe Paterno at Penn State. Pretty good company.
Really solid company indeed. The last time Notre Dame had the ball from scrimmage, they had 3 straight Bettis runs. This is the 4th consecutive run by Bettis. It nets about 4 yards. Let's go down to the sideline for an injury update. And John Dockery.
You know, Tom, as if the Irish don't have enough injury problems on offense. We haven't seen Brooks. We haven't seen Becton at tailback. Now I just found out in warm-up they have another injury. Oscar McBride popped a groin, and he isn't expected to see action. So it'll be interesting to see as the Irish get inside the 20, where they often use Oscar McBride as a second tight end, what they'll do there, also on short yardage.
Here's Myers' pass, complete to Miller. There's a penalty marker down, and Miller has a first down, but there is a flag on the play.
Well, Lake Dawson just mugged Patrick Mitchell. I think you're going to have offensive pass interference. I just saw the tail end of the play, but it looked like a pick play, and Lake Dawson had Patrick Mitchell on the ground. Let's see. Talk about it a little more.
It is offensive pass interference.
You know, it's okay to pick in the secondary. Look at Lou Holt saying, well, you know, he hit him pretty hard. Doesn't that count for anything? But it's okay to pick. but you can't knock them to the ground. I mean, it doesn't matter how.
Pass interference against the offense. Loss of down.
It's a big penalty.
Third down.
Carries that loss of down with it.
I mean, even a blind referee could hear that, you know. So.
Well, I've seen some NBA picks tougher than this. What are you talking about?
Watch Lake Dawson at the bottom of your screen. There's Patrick Mitchell. He's just going to hook him takedown.
So 3rd and 20 now, and BYU comes with its nickel defense. Meyer feeling some pressure, dumps it across the middle, complete, but not for much as Ray Zellers makes his first reception of the season and immediately taken down by Lenny Gomes.
You know, if the officials wanted to get picky, that really should have been pass interference. Lenny Gomes tackled him before the ball ever got there, and that should have been a penalty on the defense. You see Rick Meyer saying, did you see that? Look at Lou. I guarantee you that's what he said.
He has a point. Instead, Hendrick is in punt formation. Remember, his 55-yard boomer earlier with the wind, as it is now, set up the fumble recovery for the touchdown. Back to BYU deep into its own territory. Johnston again is deep, and Hendrick gets off another sailor. Johnston from the 26, straight up the field, dodges a couple of tacklers, stopped just short of the 40-yard line. Good return by Johnston, 14-yard return after Hendrick's punt covered 49. Notre Dame with a 7-3 lead on BYU, but the Cougars have moved the football. The Notre Dame score, the result of a fumble recovered in the end zone.
Tom, BYU has dominated this football game to this point. One mistake by BYU, but the only time that Notre Dame has been able to stop them, it was 4th and 1 each time, and Lavelle Edwards deciding not to go for it.
Oliver Gibson in at the nose tackle now for Notre Dame. Another high snap pulled down by Hancock. Kalen Hall can't dodge the Irish defenders. Gibson and McDonald converge on him to stop him for a loss on the play. Loss of about 4 yards. Let's go back to Jim Lampley now for another update.
All right, Tom, homecoming day in Gainesville as the Gators continue to rebound from the losses to Tennessee and Mississippi State. Shane Matthews, 9 of 11 in the game already against Louisville. That 29-yard touchdown pass to Trey Everett. Matthews breaks a lot of records, but he can never top Chris Collinsworth's 99-yard touchdown pass to Derek Gaffney. Right, Chris?
Jim, thank you very much.
Your tab is mounting, I think. He's been mentioning that every game.
That's my main man, Jim Lampley. I just want you to know that. You never brought it up.
Otis Sterling was the intended receiver of that Ryan Hancock pass, and Sterling, a somewhat inspirational story from Riverside, California. When he was his senior year in high school, he moved away from home. His parents and some of his brothers and sisters were involved with drugs. He had to get away, moved in with a friend's family. No scholarship offers. He worked a year out of high school, eventually walked on at BYU, and you see the kind of productive year he's having in his senior campaign. Third down play. Hancock steps up, delivers. Dubose got a hand on it, wrecks the intended receiver, but Demetrius Dubose, who has the fumble recovery for the touchdown, back in pass coverage, knocks it away.
You'll be able to watch Demetrius Dubose as he takes his drop. It is a zone defense, and that is what Lou Holtz wanted to see out of Demetrius Dubose and all these linebackers, that when someone passes you and makes a break, as you can see, he's not too happy about dropping that football, but if someone passes you, move over that direction because the football will be coming shortly. And look at this punt.
He's the world's largest. Brad Hunter, 6'7", 280, a defensive lineman, trying to power it against the wind. Miller takes it at the 30 and works his way forward for about 5 yards before he's tackled by the BYU special teams. Hunter got off a 36-yarder into the wind. The return covered only 4 yards.
Ever feel sorry for football?
We'll be back. The rays of the October sun glinting off the famed Golden Dome on the administration building here at the University of Notre Dame. You see the pennants atop the stadium indicating the wind has been a bit of a factor so far. Dean Lytle makes his first appearance in the game. He's at the tailback spot as Bettis returns to fullback. Two wide set right. One of them Derek Mays, who has 3 catches, 3 touchdowns this season. And Meyer goes to the air. Mays with a catch. That's his first non-touchdown reception of the season. It covered about 4 yards. Vic Tarleton covering.
That young man is amazing. Derek Mays has caught 3 balls this season, all for touchdowns. That's going to hurt his average a bit, though. He's been averaging 46 yards per catch, so he's back to being a human being again now.
What I like best is he's the major foil of Jerome Bettis jokes. Bettis says he's the easiest guy on the team to trick.
How can you take anybody seriously that has no credit hours?
Here's Lytle's first carry. It covers about 2 yards. Not much there as Nathan Hall from an inside linebacker spot stacks up Dean Lytle, the junior from Brevard, North Carolina, who carries there for the 7th time this season. Again, Lytle pressed into service in the absence of the 2 scholarship tailbacks at Notre Dame, Reggie Brooks and Lee Becton.
Boy, BYU's doing a great job of shutting down this Notre Dame running game. They gave up 299 yards rushing against Marshall Faulk, I guess the leading contender for the Heisman Trophy, but they've been solid today.
Bettis on the delay, bouncing off tacklers into BYU territory for a Notre Dame first down. Derwin Gray and Brad Clark finally able to get Bettis to the turf.
Watch number 75, the left guard, as he pulls around and is going to lead Jerome Bettis through the hole. I think he got a piece of Todd Herget there and just buried him.
That was all Jerome Bettis needed. He broke a couple of tackles as well. Bettis coming into the game with over 500 yards rushing and expected to get the bulk of the call today. Here's a play-action pass. Meyer for Miller downfield. Off his hands and incomplete. Derwin Gray was beaten, but Miller couldn't hold on. He was behind the defense.
Tom, that is as good a play by a safety man as you will ever see. Derwin Gray was completely fooled on the play. He got turned around. He saw Miller streaking down behind him. He didn't have time to look back for the football. There he tries to sneak a peek. Now he looks back and was just all over him. Miller unable to hang on to the ball. Great, great football play by Derwin Gray.
Senior from San Antonio, all-stater out of Converse, Texas, in his high school days. Bettis squirting forward to the 40, where he's tackled by Shad Hansen, a yard short of the first down. It'll be 3rd down and 1.
When we talked with the defensive staff of BYU, they thought that the game against San Diego State, where Marshall Faulk had the 300 yards, was a bit of a fluke. He said they had him pretty well under control in the second quarter until Todd Herget and Shad Hansen, their inside linebacker, got hurt, and then it was off to the races for the Heisman Trophy candidate.
Oscar McBride back on the field for Notre Dame, 2 tight end formation. Who else? Bettis fighting his way forward for yardage and enough for the first down. Jerome Bettis pounding his way forward for a couple of yards, keeping the drive going. He has 7 carries, 41 yards today.
There is the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, Ken Schmidt of the BYU Cougars. He knows he's probably going to have to play an 8-man front much of the day to shut down this running game.
First option we've seen from Notre Dame today. Meyer keeps and got a couple of yards. Shad Hansen with his 2nd consecutive tackle, and Todd Herget, the heart of the defense. Those 2 players coming in there again. And here's Reggie Brooks. Reggie Brooks, hip flexor and all, onto the field. This is the man that's been sensational for the Irish, averaging over 9 yards a carry. We'll see if he's slowed by the injury at all, but he has been, as we said, spectacular in his senior season. 8th play of the drive. Again, the option. Meyer stopped for a loss this time, back to the original line of scrimmage. It appears that BYU is ready for the option from Notre Dame. Randy Brock got penetration now to stop Meyer for the loss.
What an unbelievable play by Randy Brock. This guy has been compared with Jason Buck, the great defensive lineman out of BYU. He just got a fingernail on Rick Meyer and was able to bring him down. Had Rick Meyer turned the corner, they really had that option play set up.
Brock appeared to be blocked on the play and still made the tackle. The freshman All-American in his first season last year. Meyer to pass. Plenty of time now. The protection breaks down. Meyer trying to get to the outside and steps out of bounds, well short of the first down. And a flag flies. Was that a late hit? Meyer knocked all the way into the Irish bench.
If they get a penalty out of that, give the crowd an assist. They saw it and let the referees know about it. Take a look at the end of the play.
There's so much congestion down there, I can't tell if there's a flag or not.
See if this is a late hit. Oh, baby.
Oh, that's a big time late hit.
He didn't. He tried to hold him up.
He was 2 feet out of bounds.
Those wimpy quarterbacks. Sometimes you got to get hit a little bit. Come on.
No flag. So it is 4th and long for Notre Dame, and they're going to go for it on 4th down. 4th and 9, and the Irish will go for it. BYU taken by surprise, calls timeout.
Took us by surprise, too.
Yeah. 4th and 9.
What a contrast, though. BYU choosing not to go for it on 2 4th and 1s, and now Notre Dame going for it on 4th and 9.
Gives us a chance to remind you about more football coming your way tomorrow of the professional variety NFL action starting at 12:30 Eastern time with NFL Live. Some of you will see the old rivals, the Bengals and the Oilers, get together. Others will see Seattle coming into the Meadowlands to face the Giants. They'll be lighting the scoreboard up in that one. 4 o'clock games, Indianapolis, Miami. The Dolphins trying to stay unbeaten. Denver, San Diego, or Cleveland, New England.
Are the Dolphins for real? That seems to be the question in the National Football League now. The only undefeated team. They're much better. The second best team in the National Football League now against the run. So that has always been the Achilles heel of that Miami defense. And offensively, never been any question about what they can do there, especially with Keith Jackson now added to that receiver corps.
Boy, giving Dan Marino another offensive weapon ought to be against the law.
Yeah.
So Rick Meyer, after a consultation with Lou Holtz, ready for this 4th and 9 play. We're inside the final minute of the first quarter. Notre Dame leading BYU 7-3.
You got to get Rick Meyer on the corner. Probably roll him out to the top of the screen. Give him the option.
Brooks set as a wide receiver to the right. Instead, Meyer cuts the middle complete for the first down to Ray Griggs. Griggs makes the catch in traffic, then taken down by Derwin Gray, but it covers 15 yards. Notre Dame gambles and rolls a 7.
All right, NFL scouts, take a look at this pass. The straight drop back by Rick Meyer. This is why he will be the first quarterback taken in the draft this year. Boom! That is big league.
Notre Dame with a first down now on the BYU 21-yard line. Closing seconds of the first quarter. Bettis hit hard and knocked back and then swarmed by the white jerseys. That was Shad Hansen down at the bottom of the stack that made the initial stick of Jerome Bettis.
Hansen led BYU in defensive points. I'm not even going to try to go into how they come up with the formula, but had 325 points. Essentially, their best defensive player. I'll just leave it at that.
Coming down to the final seconds of the first quarter, Notre Dame got a gift touchdown on a fumble recovery in the end zone, but now are threatening again. It's 7-3 Irish at the end of the first quarter at South Bend. Irish leading the Cougars 7-3 as we start the second quarter. A prolonged Notre Dame drive kept alive by a key 4th and 9 conversion. This is the 12th play of the drive. Oscar McBride back in with a 2 tight end formation. Bettis bursts free. Finally tripped up inside the 10 by Derwin Gray.
Here we go with the counter tray. And Jerome Bettis is just going to follow behind. I believe it was Lindsey Knapp and Aaron Taylor. And that is a hole, ladies and gentlemen. That is the very definition of a hole. And Jerome Bettis taking advantage of it. As you can see, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish have had an unbelievable amount of success in scoring touchdowns once they get in the red zone.
There's that old-fashioned full house T backfield, including Jeff Burris, normally a safety. Meyer runs the option and cuts it up and gets only a yard to the 9. Shad Hansen with the tackle, and BYU certainly has worked against the Notre Dame option.
Yeah, and they're doing exactly what you have to do in order to stop an option game, and that's string it out. As you saw that time, BYU's defense literally overran it, but that's okay because as long as the quarterback has to take the ball and cut back in to the pursuit, generally you can stop an option game. Nice play by their defense.
Second down on the 14th play of the drive. This is Bettis. And Bettis to the 5-yard line. Herget with the tackle. It'll be 3rd and goal from just inside the 5.
Now you've got to believe that Rick Mirer will get another chance to add to his career touchdown record of 33 passes. Almost forced to throw the ball here in this situation after you've been stopped running it twice in a row. But this is the old Notre Dame offense, according to Lou Holtz, so you never know.
Dean Lytle brought in the play and joins Bettis and Burris in the backfield. That's Jerome Bettis, stopped at the 1-yard line. It'll be 4th down and goal for Notre Dame.
See how close they are. I believe he's going for it.
It's between the 1 and the 2, and he will go for it.
You know what that was? Lou Holtz said, I'm going for it on 4th down if I get any kind of yard. He treated that as a 2-down situation, so that it was okay to go for it, try and run it for 3 yards on 1st down, because he thinks he can overwhelm this BYU defense here on 4th and 2.
4th and goal from just inside the 2. Fake. Meyer tosses. Smith for the touchdown. First touchdown reception of the season for the All-American candidate Irv Smith. He had seen his backup, Oscar McBride, catch 4 touchdown passes. He was getting a little envious. He was wide open for his first scoring catch of the season.
And let's give Lou Holtz some credit. He's taken his fair share of knocks during the course of this season, but he called for a pass on 4th and 9 and picked it up. And then on 4th and 2, Lou Holtz was the difference on that drive.
Hendrick adds the extra point. A beautiful 16-play drive keyed by 2 4th down conversions. This one went for the touchdown as Meyer spots a wide open Irv Smith for the score.
I don't think the BYU defense could believe they were throwing in that situation. Nice call by Holtz. Meyer with touchdown pass number 34.
And the Irish increase their lead. Holtz and Notre Dame up on BYU 14-3. Like the crown jewel in the center of a shimmering autumn bracelet, Notre Dame Stadium, the house that Rockne built, where the Irish have taken a 14-3 lead on Brigham Young University.
Can you say that again?
No, I can't. That's one time only. Sold out for the 104th consecutive time in Notre Dame Stadium. Here's the kickoff. Christensen on the return and stopped at the 24-yard line. Notre Dame leading 14-3. Let's check back in with Jim Lampley in New York.
All right, Tom, homecoming in Lawrence, Kansas, where the Jayhawks have their best start since '68, lead the nation in scoring, go 18 plays, 72 yards on this possession, 18-yard touchdown pass from Chip Hillary to Dwayne Chandler, and Kansas leads Oklahoma 7-0 in the first. Tom and Chris.
All right, Jim, still can't get used to all those Kansas winning scores somehow or other. It just seems a little foreign. Jayhawks having a fine season. Here's Drage with his first catch of the day. Eric Drage with his 44th reception of the season and second in the United States in receiving yards coming in. Notre Dame held him to only about a 5 or 6 yard gain that time. Covington and Peterson collapsing on Drage, who Lavelle Edwards says he's the fastest guy that can't run you've ever seen.
I asked Eric before the game down on the field, I said, now how fast are you exactly? He said, fast enough.
Does he remind you of anyone?
You didn't really pick on me again, are you?
I was going to say Steve Largent. You thought I was going to say Collinsworth, didn't you? Hancock wide open across the middle to Hall. Kalen Hall with a first down. Cuts to the outside. Another pretty move. And finally tripped up on a shoestring tackle by Tom Carter.
I tell you, Eric Drage showed me a good sign of intelligence at the end of that play as well. Demetrius DeBose was bearing down on him. It looked like it was going to be one massive collision. Watches the play is just about to be completed. Hall with a nice catch, nice move. Now it looks like DeBose, who you see right there in the corner picture, is going to be in a big collision. But no, he's just going to fall down to the ground.
Here's DeBose, 31, bearing down.
Am I going to hit? No, I'm not going to hit that guy in the mouth.
14-yard gain on the play, though, for BYU. They have a first down. Right back to the air and almost picked off by DeBose. Instead, the reception made by Tim Nowatzki. Nowatzki with his 3rd reception of the season. It's good for another BYU first down. I thought DeBose was going to pick that one off.
Yeah, it really looked like Ryan Hancock should not have made this throw. Watch DeBose. He'll drop back into the zone, and now he's going to attack. That's what Lou Holtz is talking about, but didn't get there quite soon enough. Right now, BYU is cutting down their routes. They know that Notre Dame is playing a deep zone drop, so that they're running their routes now at 4 or 5 yards and giving their receivers a chance to run with the football after they catch it.
So that big 42, 50 tickets today for Tim Nowatzki, who was born and lives in nearby Michigan City, Indiana. Lofted by Hancock and taken by Heimuli, and Heimuli's down to the Irish 9-yard line, 35-yard gain.
Watch Heimuli coming out of the backfield. He got matched up one-on-one on the linebacker, and it was a mismatch. He goes right by. Comes up with a big play. We have really not seen Notre Dame be able to stop the running game or the passing game of BYU so far. And it continues.
Heimuli, who was born in Tonga, and we talked about the strong arm of Ryan Hancock. That time he had touch on it. He just laid it up there and let Heimuli run under it.
That's what happens when you put yourself in those mismatches. Justin Goheen, you know, everybody says, why doesn't Notre Dame run more blitzes? Why don't they try and put more pressure on the quarterback? Well, that's what happens. You have Heimuli matched up against Justin Goheen down the sideline, and he just simply was not fast enough to keep up with him.
Well, we've seen a lot of horses, a lot of thoroughbreds on the field here at South Bend today, and we'll see the real thing in action a week from today from Gulfstream Park in Hollandale, Florida. Breeders' Cup 9. 7 races worth $10 million. Horse racing's richest day, starting at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Horse of the Year up for grabs, as well as all the divisional championships. Hope you'll join us from Gulfstream 1:30 a week from today for the Breeders' Cup. Well, Lavelle Edwards is known as the master of the passing game. How have they done so far today? 21 plays, 17 of them passes. Hancock has hit 12 of 17. He's 4 for 4 on this drive. Hancock again has a man open. Heimuli inside the 5.
Notre Dame staying with the zone defense. It is a much better defense down here on the goal line, simply because the field is so much more compacted. I agree with the call now of Rick Minner of going ahead and staying with the zone. That time, Greg Lane was 3 or 4 yards deep in the end zone. Traditionally, teams, when they play a zone down on the goal line, will plant their feet on the goal line and attack forward.
2nd and goal from the 4. Trips to the right, Hancock looking that way. Fires it and drops in the end zone. Sterling had it, couldn't hold it.
We talked about the 93-mile-an-hour fastball. You just saw one. Ryan Hancock had Sterling wide open in the end zone, but you've got to throw this ball that hard. You have to be able to make the catch if you're Otis Sterling. And in a 14-3 ball game, that's a huge drop. Ryan Hancock knows it.
Hancock, 13 of 19 on the day, is going to become a starting pitcher after being a reliever most of his career. He pitched against Notre Dame in a tournament in Seattle this past season. Trying to pitch for a score here. Knocked away. Good defense that time by Notre Dame's John Covington. He hit Tyler Anderson just as the ball arrived to knock it free.
The exact same play. They came right back with it. You'll see Covington, you fool me once, shame on me, however that saying goes. They'll bring the wide receiver in from the outside, clear with the 2 inside guys. DeBose and Covington all over that one, though.
And on 4th down, BYU again will attempt a field goal. Lauder hit his first one. This one will be 21 yards. And the left footer Lauder now 2 for 2. BYU, though, has to settle for a field goal. They wanted the touchdown, and they still trail Notre Dame, now 14-6. The mosaic on the side of the Hesburgh Library, forever dubbed by Notre Dame students as Touchdown Jesus, and it's spot overlooking Notre Dame Stadium. You see it looming there in the background beyond the rim of the stadium.
Well, Lavelle Edwards really has to be shaking his head about this ball game. They give up the cheap touchdown on the turnover while his offense is on the field. Literally, they move the ball up and down the field against this Notre Dame defense, and yet they're down 14-6.
A problem he mentioned yesterday, not getting into the end zone. Lauder's kick taken by Miller at the 4. Look out. Straight up the gut. Miller with great speed to the outside and knocked out of bounds. Lauder, the kicker, was able to just trip him up and force his momentum to carry him out of bounds. 41-yard return by Miller.
I'm surprised Mike Miller didn't have a heart attack when he saw this. So watch what the wedge does. I mean, there is nobody. You don't see holes like that. I used to return kicks. I had never saw a hole that big in my life. That is a great job by those guys on the wedge.
And a saving shove by Lauder knocks Miller out of bounds. Good field position though for the Irish. They go straight ahead to Zellers. Ray Zellers getting his first start today. Rips off 12 yards before he's shoestring tackled by Derwin Gray.
What did Bettis tell us yesterday? That Ray Zellers is a guy that, if anything, he's too fast. He wants to hit the hole like a tailback. He says when you're playing fullback, you have to learn to slow it down a little bit. Let the blocking develop because you're so close to the line of scrimmage. That time, Ray Zellers took his time and picked up a nice gain.
I said, don't explode till you get to the hole. He was running into his own offensive lineman at times. Nice first down run. Meyer punts once. Now is going to be spun down for a loss back to the 48-yard line. Randy Brock and Lenny Gomes were all over him.
Defensive line coach Tom Ramage said that they have to control Randy Brock in practice. He said if we let him practice the way that he wants to, we'd run out of tailbacks and running backs in about a half an hour's time. This kid plays hard, practices hard, loves the Marine Corps. He thinks that that's the way that football players are supposed to look and act in practice.
Notre Dame's first 3 possessions, the last one very impressive with 2 fourth-down conversions resulting in a touchdown. Meyer on the blitz, got rid of it. It'll be incomplete. It was a screen set up for Zellers. The crowd gave Meyer an assist there because the pressure was coming from his blind side. I think he heard the crowd gasp and was able to unload it.
Yeah, Todd Herget comes around on almost a delayed blitz. When his back stepped up to block, that freed Herget to come on the blitz. And Tom, you're exactly right. You could almost see Rick Meyer look over his shoulder when the crowd started to yell. Almost instinctively, as a quarterback, you know that lookout block is coming.
Trips to the right now. Brooks is on a wing. Gerald and Mays further to the right on this 3rd and long. Meyer again under pressure. Ducks away and then caught from behind and taken down by Lenny Gomes. Gomes, the junior out of Santa Rosa, California, having a fine game from his nose guard spot.
Tom, BYU, in much the same way that Stanford had success with that 8-man front, is really giving the Notre Dame offense some problems. You can't have that much success because you simply can't block 8 men on the line of scrimmage. Now they're forcing Rick Meyer to throw the ball, and we know from talking to Lou Holtz yesterday, that's not what they want to do. They want to get back to traditional Notre Dame football and just pound it up the middle of the gut.
Hendrick to punt. Brad Clark is deep for the Cougars, and Hendrick hits the end zone on the fly for the touchback. Craig Hendrick with a 48-yard punt, but he wanted to down it inside the 20. Couldn't do it. Cougars ball when we come back. Tom Hammond, Chris Collinsworth, John Dockery from Notre Dame Stadium, where the BYU defense is trying to get a few things straightened out. They played pretty well, only allowing the one long Notre Dame drive. The Cougars surrendering a cheap touchdown on a fumble recovery in the end zone. That was the offense that gave up that. BYU with a first down at its own 20. Ryan Hancock wide open to Rex. Byron Rex, the tight end, close to the first down. Dubose and Covington on the tackle.
Going to see Byron Rex simply come from his tight end position, swing out wide, and then come back over as they clear the field. And it is not a very complicated game. came out of the backfield there. But it's not a very complicated game plan, really. If you watch the National Football League, you see it week in and week out. It's giving this Notre Dame defense fits.
Third catch by Rex, good for the first down. Hancock feeling pressure from a blitzing DuBose, had to unload it. Intended for Christensen and incomplete.
The defensive coaches for BYU, or the offensive coaches, I should say, Roger French, the offensive coordinator, said that he would really prefer to see Demetrius DuBose in pass coverage. They didn't want to see him turn loose and coming after their quarterback. As you can see, nice job, nice read by Ryan Hancock, just getting it out of there. That was a potentially horrible play.
Roger French has faith in his strong-armed young quarterback. Hancock has had a good game so far. Unable to get into the end zone, however. Now being chased, Hancock gets away and dumps it off. And it's going to be incomplete, intended for Tyler Anderson. He had a receiver in the territory. And the fact that his arm was being held could be one of the reasons the ball came up short. Heads-up play by Hancock in any event.
Clearly an incomplete pass. Ryan Hancock was trying to flip it in the flat, and that's the first time we've seen all day Notre Dame being able to put any pressure on Hancock with just their front four. Coming around the corner, that was Devon McDonald, and that's what Notre Dame would like to do, be able to get that pressure with their front four, but so far the only way they've been able to get it is by blitzing DuBose.
3rd and 10 for the Cougars. Christensen will be stopped short of the first down. Demetrius DuBose and Greg Lane stopping Christensen after the catch. And BYU will be forced to punt.
Tom, I really didn't understand that offensive series by the BYU Cougars. They've had so much success in throwing between the hash marks. When you're working against the zone defense, and the more direct the line of the throw, the easier it is to get the completion because you don't have to put the ball in the air for so long. They've been having a tremendous amount of success over the middle, and they completely abandoned at that time.
Here's Big Hunter on to punt again, this time with the wind at his back. He kicks it a mile high. Fair catch called for by Miller, who retreats to get it at about the 7-yard line. You could almost see the air coming out of that ball on a 47-yard punt by Hunter. Let's go down to John Dockery.
Thank you, Tom. We're seeing a couple of good quarterbacks here today. Notre Dame has had so many great quarterbacks over the years, including one, Angelo Bertelli, in the early 40s, one of their 7 Heisman Trophy winners. He won the trophy in 1943, despite playing only 6 of 10 games. And Angelo, what was the situation there?
Well, it was a situation where World War II was in effect. We were a part of the Marine Corps right on campus. We were students, but we were also part of the Marine Corps. And when they took us away, they said, go, and we had to go. That was it.
Where were you when you actually found out about the trophy?
I was in Paris Island, South Carolina, where the Marine Corps had basic training. And it was the same day that we lost the Great Lakes on the last play. So I was torn between crying 1 minute and sort of enjoy for the few minutes after that, and I just didn't know what to think.
I guess there are priorities in life. There was no downtown athletic club. What about Notre Dame? How about the quarterback, Rick Meyer? What do you feel about him?
I like Rick Meyer, and I wish he would throw more. And I like Brian Hancock from what I've seen of the Brigham Young quarterback, and I wish we'd rush the passer just a little bit more.
Spoken like a true quarterback. Tom wishes he would throw more. Thank you, Angelo.
A familiar refrain as 2 good defensive plays against the run by BYU. All the quarterbacks want to put it in the air. And you know that BYU certainly doesn't have the tradition of Notre Dame, but you talk about quarterbacks. Carter, Nielsen, Wilson, McMahon, Young, Bosco, Detmer. BYU's had a few of their own.
I think we can keep a microphone open down there. I'd like to hear a few more of those comments.
Some things never change. Quarterbacks want to put it in the air. Rick Meyer probably will here. 3rd and 8. Let's see if he does deep in his own territory. Behind Bettis, the intended receiver, and now Notre Dame faced with a 4th down inside their own 15-yard line.
BYU faithful here as well. But Tom, what we're seeing now is Notre Dame trying to stick with that run on first and second down, throw it on third down, and it's not working. The score is 14-6. I understand that, but if this were a prize fight, I would have to give the decision thus far to BYU. I think they've been a little more effective in this game. They just don't have the points on the board to prove it.
The game so far has turned on that one cheap touchdown. Recovery by DuBose in the end zone for Notre Dame's first score. Hendrick gets off a bad kick, and then it takes an even worse bounce down by Covington at the 35-yard line. Hendrick with a bad one, only 25 yards. Great field position for BYU. These are the two most productive offenses in all of college football. BYU with a first down at the 35. Hancock sacked. Devon McDonald getting his Notre Dame leading sack total up to 5.5 with that hit.
Devon McDonald gets credit for the sack, but you have to give an assist to the Notre Dame secondary. That time they went with the man-to-man coverage. I think surprised BYU to some degree. They had a lot of clearing routes. Nobody was open, and gave McDonald time to come around the corner for the sack.
Now 2nd and 23. Flags down. Hancock's pass intercepted by Burris. Let's check the penalty flag.
I don't think it's going to count. Looked like 2 Notre Dame players jumped off sides. And if you can trust center Gary Pay, it is exactly that call. He's signaling. There goes Lou Holtz. He's saying he snapped back. He pulled the ball. He tried to pull out too soon, and that's what drew us offside. That's what Lou Holtz is saying.
This is a split officiating crew, Big East and WAC.
Let's take a look.
Offside, defense, second down.
Let's watch Ryan Hancock, see if he pulls back. He does bob a little, and to be honest, that is illegal procedure. You're not supposed to be able to flinch. That's illegal procedure. That should have been against BYU. Lou Holtz has a definite point.
Instead, it's called against Notre Dame, nullifying the Burris interception. Hancock quickly to Rex. Byron Rex rambling inside the 30 down to the 27 of the Irish. 2 or 3 yards short of the first down. John Covington hanging on to the big tight end, 6'2", 230 pounds, out of Bellflower, California.
Very simply conceived route. All the wide receivers taking off down the field, driving that zone defense a little deeper, and then Byron Rex simply sneaking out underneath, and there's nobody there to cover. LaVell Edwards really, honestly, has a tremendous game plan as far as throwing the football. It's fun to watch.
Draw play. Kalen Hall shook off one tackler. Oh, what a run by Hall. He's going to be very close to the first down, maybe just across the 25. A determined run by Kalen Hall, the junior running back from Las Vegas, the leading Cougar ground gainer on the season.
What a shock that BYU came with a run on that play. So far, they only have 5 running plays for -1 yard. And really, there was nothing here for Kalen Hall either. He just created it. Demetrius DuBose had the chance to make the play. He just missed the tackle. DuBose telling us yesterday that he still feels like that he isn't playing up to his standards.
Key first down for the Cougars. It's Drage in motion. And Hancock to pass. They pick up a blitzing DuBose, and Hancock gets to the outside. Step out of bounds after a gain of 2 or 3 yards. DuBose has been turned loose today. If you've been watching from the sideline, John Dockery, what have you picked up?
You know, I agree with Chris totally. As a former defensive back, you can't just let the quarterback have all that time. You got to do something differently. You're playing against a team that it's like playing basketball in cleats. It's just throwing catches, Chris has said. If you don't, I'd much rather, as a defensive back, have some rush, maybe 5 defensive linemen. Give me DuBose, give me 5 defensive backs, play a little tighter man-to-man, have responsibility for the tight end in the back out of the backfield, and go after them. You can't sit back and let a strong-arm quarterback like Hancock just pick you apart.
protection again, good for Hancock, who rifles it, almost intercepted. Carter had it, couldn't hold on. Maybe that was the strong arm of Hancock throwing it too hard for Carter to hold.
Well, Hancock says the only reason my numbers are as good as they are is that I've had the good fortune of having some butterfinger defensive backs. This time it's Tom Carter, who told us yesterday that you pray for days like this against a passing team. He said there's no pressure playing against a team like this. The pressure comes in when you have to go up and make tackles on the option game and teams like that. And Tom Carter had a chance to make a headline with that one.
Instead, it's 3rd and 10 for BYU from the Irish 24. Across the middle, complete. Kalen Hall ducking to the outside, very close to the first down marker. He needed to get just inside the 15, and he got it. Kalen Hall has had 2 key conversions in this drive for BYU. One on a run, that one on a run after the reception.
Tom, they're just playing a very simple zone defense, and the longer that Ryan Hancock can hold on to the football, the deeper they're getting. That time, Demetrius DeBose, and trying to play Lou Holtz's philosophy on defense of chasing people within the zone, ran himself out of position and really gave Kalen Hall a wide open path for the first down.
Ryan Hancock has already passed for over 220 yards today. First down for the Cougars from the 14 of Notre Dame, trailing 14-6. Jamal Willis can't quite get the corner, does manage 2 or 3 yards before he's forced out by Bobby Taylor.
Don't just run by.
Well, they finally have some positive yardage to work with, and you get the idea that Roger French, the offensive coordinator there, is really just using the running game to try and set up his passing game. He just doesn't want to see those linebackers getting into their drops anytime too soon. Now you have a 2nd and 6 situation. Be interesting to see if Rick Minner decides to come with the blitz, because they haven't had a lot of success with that zone.
From the shotgun, Hancock on this 2nd down play.
Here they come.
Blitz comes. The pass intended for Mooley, a little low and outside on the pitch from Hancock, and incomplete.
And give Anthony Peterson credit there. Mooley was swinging out of the backfield. He was supposed to be the weak link. Roger French definitely wanting to pick on Anthony Peterson today, feeling like that he wasn't quite the athlete that some of these other linebackers are, but that time he did the job on Mooley.
Twice already today, BYU has had to settle for field goals in scoring territory. Here's a key 3rd down play. Hancock with time behind the intended receiver, Rex in the end zone. And for the 3rd time, the BYU field goal unit comes on the field.
Really didn't like the route by Byron Rex there. He got in behind the linebackers, but continued to drift his pattern. Watch the tight end. He's going to swing into the bottom of your picture here, number 95. You'll just barely be able to see him. He faded his route into the end zone. If he had stopped and come right back towards the quarterback, he would have at least had the first down. He may not have gotten the touchdown. Looked like he got a little greedy trying to get all 6.
Lauder kicks it through for the 3rd time today. This one from 28 yards. He had an 18 and 21 yarder earlier. BYU continues to sputter in the red zone, but they're keeping it close. That cuts the Notre Dame lead now to 14-9.
The end zone referees didn't like that call of good very much. That was close.
Well, after the game, we'll have boxing for you as WBA lightweight champion Joey Gamache puts his title on the line as he faces Tony the Tiger Lopez. Gamache has ended 18 of his 29 victories with a knockout, but Lopez, former champion, certainly no pushover. Should be a good bout coming up. It's Gamache against Lopez, presented by Valvoline, coming up next here on NBC.
Well, BYU is ripping up and down the field. Ryan Hancock has some very impressive numbers, but they are not putting points on the board. They're still down only 5. It's 14-9. And Rick Meyer's offense has been struggling on all but one down so far. When they had a 16-play drive, they have had no more than 4 plays on any other drive. So it's imperative now that Rick Meyer and this Notre Dame offense put something together here in the final 3 minutes and 8 seconds.
Meyer's passing numbers, 5 of 9 for 26 yards. Hancock, as we noted, already over 200 yards in the air. Lauder's kick sails right out of bounds.
looked like one of your 5 irons.
And Notre Dame will get it at the 35-yard line. Lauder, that was an ugly kick.
Well, Notre Dame will have good field position as they try to decide exactly what to do with this when they're allowed to accept it there or at the 35, I believe is the rule.
Correct.
So they'll take it at the 35.
Well, we build this as the match between the two most potent offensive units in college football. And so far, I would have to say that the Air Force is whipping the infantry on every place but the scoreboard. Through the air, BYU 219 yards. Notre Dame mostly on the ground, 98 yards. 65 of those yards came on their long touchdown drive.
But it's such an advantage in the red zone for teams that can run the football. If you can overwhelm your opponent, that gives you a big edge.
Pitch to Bettis. Bettis from the tailback spot. Collared, but still manages to break through for about 5 yards. Hall and Brock finally get down the hard-charging Jerome Bettis. They hit him high, and you can't stop Bettis that way.
Well, Ken Schmidt, the defensive coordinator, I believe would love to see Notre Dame continue with that strategy. He was more afraid of the direct, the leads and the blast and the fullback bellies that Notre Dame has rather than running wide. Jerome Bettis is not going to destroy you running wide, but he can running right up the gut.
You're saying from that tailback spot, you sometimes have to run east-west, and that's tough for him. Here's the pass complete to Mays. Derek Mays almost broke free. Just tripped up by Derwin Gray.
Well, another catch without a touchdown. He's killing his streak, but now 5 catches on the season, 3 touchdowns. And Skip Holtz, the offensive coordinator, offensive coach for Notre Dame, said, well, with those numbers, you'd think that maybe this coaching staff isn't doing such a good job. Sounds like we ought to get him the ball a little more.
Well, 2 catches today by by Derek Mays. Zellers hit in his tracks by Brad Hunter. Two-yard loss on the play. It'll be 2nd and 12 coming up for the Irish.
Hunter and Greg Pitch really alternate on that defensive line for BYU. Hunter, known more for his ability to get after the quarterback, has 4 sacks on the season, but that time a nice play against the run.
Final 2 minutes of the first half from Notre Dame Stadium. Meyer with a roll. Pump fake, and he's going to run. Not much there. Did you see big Randy Brock at 265 pounds chasing down and catching Meyer from behind?
He loves it. He's all over the field. In 1991, he led the Cougars with 22 quarterback hurries and was 2nd on the team last year with 6.5 sacks. Has great athletic ability. And as you can see, he caught Rick Meyer from behind.
Randy Brock, who was the Idaho State discus champ in high school when he was Idaho Defensive Player of the Year as a senior. Dawson, Griggs, and Brooks trips set left on 3rd and long. Inside the final minute of the half. Meyer in trouble, ducks away from another hit, fires across the field, intercepted and then fumbled. Let's see what it's ruled. It'll be an incomplete pass.
I don't think so. They're going to give it to him.
Now one official is saying incomplete, the others saying interception and then down.
That has to be an incomplete pass. There was no control on the part of Derwin Gray. You have to be able to catch that thing, control it, and that's exactly what they're going to rule. See if you ever really.
He took 2 steps with it under cover. I believe that it's.
I veto myself there. He did. He took 2 steps, had the ball under control, and the ground knocked it free. And the referees are going to miss this one.
Well, you did too, though. I mean, don't be getting on the referees.
1, 2. I don't know, Tom. Looked like that was slipping just before it hit the ground. Let's give him a break. Let's say the referees are right.
Here's Meyer to punt. Now he is the hooch punter, the short punter for Notre Dame. That one went straight up. And then bounces back.
Well, there's a good solid 6-yard punt.
7. It's 7. You're wrong again.
They would have been better off with the interception. That had them down to the 30-yard line. We're making a little light of this, but that really gives BYU an opportunity here. Watch Rick. He's just going to try and pooch it down the field, just a half wedge, if you will. and it goes off the side of his foot. But more importantly now, 38 seconds to go with 2 timeouts remaining for BYU. They've got a chance to put some points on the board.
BYU with 38 seconds to work with. Hancock. Cross it downfield, and Rex is open. And a good recovery on the ball by Bobby Taylor, the freshman from Notre Dame, able at the last second to knock it away.
He got a start last week when Greg Lane was hurt. He played quarterback, and Lou Holtz was very impressed with this young man. He's a natural safety, and as you can see, his athletic ability, also a basketball player. They think that he may well walk on at Notre Dame this year. Got way up in the air and knocked it away from Byron Rex. Great play.
That basketball leaping ability. He was Texas 5A basketball player of the year. Hancock steps up, throws long. Sterling can't hold on. Again, Taylor converging. Back there playing center field and converging on the ball, but twice it's been close to 6 points for BYU. That time to Sterling, and directs the play before.
Just a simple zone defense. You'll see right here at the top of the screen, he'll run right through the middle of the zone. I don't know exactly what the Notre Dame defensive backs were doing, but they were clearly beaten on the play, and the strong arm of Ryan Hancock had it there. But nice play again by Bobby Taylor to come back. It's 2 for 2 and jumping up over the wide receivers and making the play.
Hancock under center this time, 23 seconds left. He told us he could throw the ball about 80 yards. This one is complete. Nowatzki from Michigan City, Indiana, where the BYU team spent the night last night with a 22-yard catch and a Cougar first down inside the Notre Dame 40. Timeout BYU. 16 ticks left on the clock. They have 1 timeout left.
Now, if you're wondering, David Lauder, their field goal kicker for BYU, is 4 for 7 from 40 to 49 yards, 0 for 1 over 50 yards. So they will need about another 10 to 12 yard gain to give him a legitimate shot. But certainly it would be a tremendous lift for BYU to go in trailing by just 2 if they could pick up the field goal here.
Lauder's longest on the season, 46. And Lavelle Edwards told us yesterday, we'll move the ball on Notre Dame. We've moved the ball on everybody we've played, the Miamis, the Penn States included. He said, we'll move the ball, but I don't know if we can score enough.
I don't know if we can listen in on the huddle to get some idea.
Help each other up. Knock them down. Don't overextend. Just get to them and you punch them and knock them down. Everybody, keep your feet square. Keep your heads up. Only got 1 timeout left.
I think what you're going to see is he was talking, Roger French, the offensive coordinator, was talking to the offensive line, and this may be a quick kind of a pass, maybe a quick slant or a hitch or something to try and get it off. He was saying make sure you jab the guy and don't let his hands get up in the air and get in the throwing lanes.
Lauder, number 30, could be called on. He does have the wind at his back. He'll be aided by the wind should he try a long field goal.
Fairly strong wind as well, as we see the flags whipping around and blowing directly behind the BYU offense now.
Hancock, 18 of 32, 244 yards. You see the wind whipping the pennants atop the stadium. Hancock buys some time, and then they collapse on him from behind. The ball is free, and Notre Dame has it. Devon McDonald knocked the ball free. Jim Flanagan was there too. Big defensive play by the Irish. And they'll have it in the closing seconds here of the first half. 8 seconds left.
We talked about how confident Ryan Hancock, the quarterback for BYU, is. That time too confident. He sat in the pocket, sat there, tried to move around. You don't have that much time when you've got people like Devon McDonald and Brigham Young coming after you. Nice job of staying with it by Devon McDonald. Really a fairly decent job by Scott Brumfield on the play, swinging him wide, but it was the movement within the pocket by Hancock that caused that quarterback sack.
8 seconds left. Iyer looking to throw. Final play perhaps of the first half. It's complete to Irv Smith. He carries 5 BYU tacklers with him, but time runs out. If he'd gone down, time to call a timeout and stop the clock.
A poor play by battling for additional yardage, because they would have had an opportunity for a 50-yard field goal.
Well, Lou Holtz with a word for the referee, Thomas Thamert. as the teams leave the field after the first half. And while Lou Holtz is talking to the referee, John Dockery's talking to Lavelle Edwards. Doc?
Thank you, Tom. Hey, Lavelle, you said you could move the ball against Notre Dame, against anybody. Did they pretty much give you the defenses you expected?
We think so, yes. They're doing pretty much what we anticipated, and our problem of getting the ball into the end zone, of course, is when you get down there, you can throw the ball, but then it shrinks, and then they've done a nice job down there. But our guys are hanging in there playing very well. I feel very good about it.
Can you do anything differently in the red zone in the second half to get the ball in?
Well, we just got to, we dropped a touchdown pass, and then a long one down there that could have been one, but we won't do anything appreciably different. We just try to get it in the end zone.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck. Tom?
All right, Doc. Lavelle Edwards and his Cougars trailed Wyoming 21-7 at halftime last week before pulling out the victory. They've moved the ball up and down the field, and the difference so far in the first half, the cheap touchdown, the recovery by Demetrius DuBose in the end zone for the first Notre Dame score, and the Irish at halftime leading 14-9. Let's go to Jim Lampley. The Notre Dame band with a little Gloria Estefan music here at halftime. Welcome back to Notre Dame Stadium. An interesting first half. The margin of difference, of course, the fumble recovery by Demetrius DuBose in the end zone, giving Notre Dame the 14-9 lead. And Notre Dame, it's obvious, that potent ground attack hampered by the absence of Brooks and Becton, their tailback. Brooks has played a little bit, but the two tailbacks not being in there has made a difference.
Yeah, Notre Dame came into this game averaging 287 yards on the ground, third best in the country. So far in this ball game, only 75 yards, most of those by Jerome Bettis. And I'm sure that Lou Holtz is shocked to some degree to find that his team is not able to throw the football. It'll be interesting to see what happens here in the second half. Does he now give Rick Meyer a chance to put it up, especially on the early down? So far, they've been running mostly on first and second down, trying to pick up the first down on third down, and that formula really hasn't worked. BYU has been dominant in this football game everywhere except on the scoreboard to this point.
Well, just a few moments ago, John Dockery spoke with Coach Lou Holtz, and let's see what Coach Holtz had to say.
Coach, a quick question. Second half, what do you do on defense to shut down their offense?
Well, the main thing we've been hurt is the back coming out, faking out, breaking underneath, and we haven't gotten real good underneath coverage. It's been a problem with us all year. I think our secondary's played very, very well, but we've had trouble with the underneath stuff.
You come with an extra defensive back, maybe?
Well, we playing with 5 defensive backs now. It's hard to go with 6, particularly when we're banged up a little bit there.
Good luck, Coach. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, and here are the stats at halftime, some revealing stats. Look at BYU. They had a decent running attack coming into the game, minus 24. That includes a quarterback sack. And look at the total yards, though, 244 yards through the air for BYU. The only flaw in their first half, the inability to get it into the end zone.
Yeah, only 6 yards rushing for BYU. If you take out the quarterback sacks for the rest of the team, they have had 6 yards. They probably will completely abandon the running game in the second half. Athletically, they just can't match up with the size and the strength of Notre Dame. If BYU and Lavelle Edwards are to win this football game, it will rest in the hands of Ryan Hancock. He's going to have to throw it consistently here in the second half.
Notre Dame gets the ball to open the second half, and they will get the wind in what could be the fourth and deciding quarter. Brigham Young has the wind here in the third quarter as Lauder kicks it off. Miller in the end zone, almost out of the end zone. The ball does go out, and Notre Dame will take over at the 20. Well, this is the first meeting between Notre Dame and BYU. Meyer did not have a sparkling first half through the air, though he did throw the touchdown pass to Irv Smith. His numbers pale in comparison to the pass-happy Hancock's numbers.
And he really didn't throw the ball that much. And the times that he did, it was generally on third down and trying to make up some long yardage situations. Wouldn't be surprised. Here they come again with that 8-man front, BYU does. Wouldn't be surprised to see him come out and throw on first down.
Instead, it's a handoff to Brooks, who opens the second half at tailback and chips off about a 5-yard run before Hansen and Herget make the tackle.
Well, Lou Holtz apparently making the decision that has to get Reggie Brooks back involved in this football game. I got the feeling in talking to Skip Holtz before the ball game, he really didn't want to play Reggie Brooks. They wanted to hold him out, give him a chance to get completely healthy. But in this kind of a football game, 14-9 now in the second half, you've got to put your star in.
There's Skip Holtz upstairs, helping to call the plays. He relays it down, and then his dad, Coach Holtz, instead of Coach Skip, has the final say. That only gets a yard as the running game continues to sputter. And Skip Holtz was telling us yesterday that his dad gave the go-ahead to open up the Notre Dame offense. It didn't work with the tie to Michigan and the loss to Stanford, so Coach Holtz announcing it was back to basics, and Skip said he thought he'd given the wide-open attack enough of a chance, and that his decision to go back to Notre Dame football, as Coach Holtz called it, was correct.
And once again, runs on first and second down. Now the pressure on Rick Meyer, 3rd and 4.
Handoff to Bettis. And Bettis will be close to the first down. He'll have it across the 30-yard line, tackled by Derwin Gray and Brad Clark. So 3 consecutive runs, and they pile up a first down.
It just makes a difference when Reggie Brooks is in the ballgame. You get Jerome Bettis back to his natural fullback position. You force the defense to concentrate on his running between the tackles, and always the threat of Reggie Brooks popping one around the outside. They may get back to the option game as well now that they've got their #1 combination in the backfield.
Play action pass on first down. Meyer rifles it complete to Dawson. Lake Dawson with a gain of 9 across the 40-yard line, where he's hit by Patrick Mitchell.
Now that's a big call for Lou Holtz. He comes out successful running the football. 1, 2, 3. The first 3 times he's got the ball, picks up the first down, and now they have to respect the play action. Rick Meyer able to complete it to Lake Dawson.
First catch of the day for Dawson, Irish leading receiver on the season. That was his 18th grab of the campaign. Had a rib injury against Stanford, had to come out of the game for a while. He's the receiver Rick Meyer's most comfortable with. Straight ahead, that might have been the option, as the first option, Jerome Bettis, gets the handoff and stopped by the center of the BYU line.
Jerome told us yesterday, he says, I know we'll be running the ball more today because we've run it more in practice. I asked him, do you like that? And he said, well, not in practice. I don't like it. He got the brunt of the work all week. Reggie Brooks and Lee Becton being out with the injuries.
He said he was winded, too, running all those reps, as he called them, from tailback spots. He did have a couple of off days and went bowling with his own orange bowling ball. Here's the option pitch to Brooks. Brooks hit, dropped at the 45, no gain. And Derwin Gray comes up, and again, BYU defensing the option very well.
And remember, BYU plays in the WAC conference with the Air Force Academy, one of the best wishbone teams in all the country. So they've had some experience against this option. And Rick Meyer has been giving defenses fits all season long with the option game, but not BYU.
Gain of only a yard on the play, 2nd and 9 for the Irish. Briggs and Gerald in at wide receiver, with Brooks wide right on the wing. Here's a pass to Griggs. Griggs with blockers down the sideline. Griggs scores.
Seen Notre Dame run this play all season long. The wide receiver will come underneath the offensive lineman, get out in front. It's a quick hitting screenplay, and Ray Griggs just outruns the defense, including Derwin Gray.
54 yards, second touchdown catch of the season for Ray Griggs, as the Irish strike on their first possession of the second half, going 80 yards for the score. Hendrick for the extra point. Notre Dame gives BYU a taste of its own medicine. The Irish go to the air and score to go up 21-9 on the Cougars. Ray Griggs on a screen pass from Rick Meyer, 54 yards for the Irish touchdown.
Thanking that offensive line because he knows how he got down the field.
Short kick by Hendrick. Skies in the air and takes a bounce. BYU was lucky there. One of the men let it bounce and should have caught it on the fly. They'd have had it in great position. And a key block on that last play by a man injured in the first half that returned to action. John Dockery with a story.
Thank you. Hey, Tom. You know, that's Todd Norman. You see the cast on his right hand. I don't know if you can see it there on the bench. He broke his right thumb in the second quarter. They casted it at halftime. The doctor and he had some serious conversation. Norman said, hey, I want to be in this game. I want to contribute. And on that touchdown run, he did contribute with a terrific block. You saw it with a broken right thumb. That's the kind of desire that wins games.
Willis, the intended receiver, on that incomplete toss from Ryan Hancock. And here's the touchdown play. Watch 66 Norman.
Ray Griggs is going to come down here and catch the screen. Todd Norman and the entire offensive line get a chance to release because of the fact that the screen pass was caught behind the line of scrimmage. That is not ineligible men down the field. You see Norman with a big block, a gutsy effort by him, and Griggs is off to the races.
There is Gray with his second touchdown catch of the season. Griggs, a senior out of University Park, Illinois. Hancock has the man wide open. Nowatzki turns it into something big. He's at midfield, 28-yard gain. Well, all those fans from Michigan City that made the 35-mile trip here to South Bend see their hometown hero, sophomore Tim Nowatzki, with another catch.
The linebackers reacted on the man underneath. All day long, BYU has been beating them up with the 6 to 7 yard routes over the middle. That time, Nowatzki able to work in behind the linebackers as they jumped the underneath routes, and that's why he was so wide open.
On the midfield strike, Brigham Young's first possession of the second half, now trailing 21-9. Rex with a diving catch, covered 9 yards.
Pass, lead to Byron Rex.
You see Byron Rex saying, if you could get it up just a little bit, maybe I can do a little running with it. Byron Rex, this is just position football. Rex is going to come down, get on the inside of John Covington, and Ryan Hancock did a nice job of throwing it to the open spot.
Rex sputtered early in his career, made a lot of mistakes, but kept working hard and has become the second leading receiver for the Cougars this season. 5 catches today. Here's a draw to Hall. Kalen Hall picks up a BYU first down to the 35, where he's covered by Anthony Peterson and John Covington.
This is a big drive for BYU. Notre Dame comes right out, puts a touchdown on the board. 21-9 the score now. BYU has to go down and get the ball in the end zone. They've had 3 opportunities, come away with 3 field goals, really been in the end zone the red zone 3 times and been very ineffective.
Saw that Kalen Hall was the National Junior College Player of the Year while at Dixie JC in St. George, Utah. Same play. Big room. Hall inside the 20. ...17 yards.
Here's the danger when you try to run a blitz and you pick it up. Did you see the trap block there on Brigham Young? That's what sprung it right up the middle. The blitzing linebackers did not pinch in tight enough on the center. They allowed the trap to take place in front of them, and that sprung Kalen Hall.
Hall, Nevada High School Player of the Year twice in his career at Las Vegas Valley. This will be Willis as BYU goes to the ground attack. somewhat surprisingly, to the 15-yard line. Anthony Peterson on the tackle. That's a gain of 4.
Back to the well once too often for Roger French. They've had success throwing the ball. They've gotten their attention by running the quick trap up the middle. The linebackers can't be flying out of there. Need to get back to what they do best. That's throwing the football. Otis Sterling coming back in the game. I think without question you'll see a pass here.
Lavelle Edwards was a defensive coach before he was hired as the head coach at BYU, and said the success of Virgil Carter at quarterback with a passing game when he was defensive coach inspired him to switch to this vaunted passing attack. Hancock's pass, diving catch made by Christensen at about the 9-yard line, a yard short of the first down.
That time BYU flooded the zone. They had Byron Rex deep in the same exact zone position as the running back coming out of the backfield, Christensen, and just dumped it off. They'll take the 4 or 5 yard gain, set it up for a third down and about 1.5. You have to believe now that for Lavelle Edwards, this is 4-down territory, that regardless of what happens here, they're going to come back and go for it on 4th down. So this may be a run this time.
8th play of the drive. Draw play. Paul slips, but still got the first down to the 5.
First down.
The draw play. Defensively, you never know if they're going with the pass or the run. Every one of their running plays really coming off of a pass action. They want to drop back in the pocket, either hand it off or just go ahead and throw the football. But a nice job of play design, and that everything looks the same when the play begins.
34 rushing yards on this drive, a rarity for BYU. Now 1st and goal. Another handoff to Willis. Trying to get wide. Willis knocked out at the 5-yard line.
That's the exact play that they gave up the touchdown on earlier in the ball game. Willis was supposed to take the handoff earlier, and they fumbled it, ended up with a Notre Dame touchdown. But I really disagree with this play call down on the goal line. Notre Dame's athletes are simply better than BYU's athletes. They're going to be able to outrun Jamal Willis to the corner, and now you have a 2nd down and 5, no gain.
Edwards likely to go to the air here on 2nd and goal, ball at the 5-yard line. Hancock, touchdown pass. Tim Nowatzki from Michigan City, Indiana, with a touchdown as mobbed in the end zone. He had 50 tickets. They're all here. And a big moment for the sophomore from Michigan City.
You see a number 42, Tim Nowatzki, just going to get in between the zone. Demetrius DeVos right there, but couldn't make the play soon enough. And that is the easiest way to complete a pass down around the goal line, throwing directly in front of the quarterback because it happens so quickly.
And the field goal is good. And BYU keeps that string of consecutive games with a touchdown pass intact. Well, he's not John Hancock, but he's putting his signature on this game. Ryan Hancock with a touchdown pass to Nowatzki. Well, the zone private cheering section is chanting 42, 42. Tim Nowatzki caps off a 10-play, 78-yard BYU drive. Grandma will enjoy that. Did that make the end zone before it went out of bounds? Yes, touchback. Notre Dame will take over at its 20-yard line as BYU, with that last score, adds to its NCAA record with 43 consecutive games with a touchdown pass.
Let's go back to the touchdown play. Here's Tim Nowatzki right here. He's going to come down and get in between. Watch Demetrius DeVos jump the route. And look in behind. Tyler Anderson is going to be completely open. We'll see if they come back with that later in the ball game. DeVos jumps the route. Anderson comes completely free after DeVos vacated his zone.
I think, though, they get right giving it to the homeboy, Nowatzki, letting him have a little glory, huh?
No question.
Brooks on the pitch. Blockers in front. Doesn't matter. BYU comes up quickly in the pursuit led by Brad Hunter, the big would-be punter. And, of course, Chad Hansen is always around the football to stop Brooks for a short gain.
Tom, Reggie Brooks is not sound. This is not the Reggie Brooks that we have seen in the first 3 games that we have done. He looks tentative running in towards the hole and really has not been the player that Reggie Brooks. He's been so impressive this entire season, and he hasn't really been able to explode into the holes the way that he has been.
With a hip flexor injury, he's lined up in the tailback spot and gets the call again. Picking his way forward and not exploding, as you pointed out, but still able to drive ahead across the 30 for a Notre Dame first down. But he doesn't have that explosiveness that we saw earlier.
The surest way, though, for a guy to pick up 7 or 8 yards is to have me tell him that he's not looking too good. Just watch Reggie Brooks, and you'll see this is a guy that's averaging 9 yards per carry. He does a nice job of bouncing outside, but you have to think that maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago he would have broken that one for 15 or 20.
Next to Marshall Faulk and maybe Garrison Hurst, though I thought he was the best running back in college football earlier in the season. Nickel with a stop that time, along with Herget, as Bettis carries for about 5.
Kevin Nichols' father was a great basketball player with BYU back in the 50s. Still holds some of the scoring records there.
John Nickel, who was eventually drafted by the New York Knicks, played basketball 58-59 in Provo. Double wide, set right. Brooks the tailback. Meyer fires in the flat, complete to Griggs. And Griggs has a first down, now being dragged back, but he did have forward progress for first down yardage. Derwin Gray was trying to pull him in reverse.
Well, there's a new play for Notre Dame. I haven't seen this one before. It's kind of the reverse of what they scored the touchdown on. That time, Griggs went from inside out, and Lake Dawson threw a block on the outside to spring him. An interesting way to run the flanker screen. I've never seen that before.
Third catch of the day for Griggs, who had that 54-yard touchdown on the screen last possession for the Irish. 5:46 remaining in the third quarter. Brooks bursts free, twists his way for a first down across the 35 of BYU. Brad Clark able to trip up Reggie Brooks, who had a head of steam going that time.
Can I get out of it by saying that he's starting to loosen up now? Obviously, that hip is loosening up as he continues to play in the game. Reggie Brooks now beginning to show what has made him one of the more exciting running backs in the country for the first half of the season.
Yeah, some pretty nice moves there. I think you just inspired him, as you've been known to do.
What a difference, though. When they can put Bettis at fullback and Brooks at tailback, that's how this team became the number 3 rushing team in the country.
Lou Holtz saw his team score on his first possession. Lavelle Edwards ditto. Brooks trying to bounce it to the outside. Pretty nice move, but not enough to get away from Brad Clark, who was hanging on to a leg for dear life.
Well, now the offense is beginning to take over in this ball game. This is much more of the type of game that we expected. Notre Dame averaging 38 points, BYU averaging 31, the number 1, number 2 offenses in the country. And so far, the defenses haven't been able to stop them on either side of the ball.
Bettis to the 35. He'll be a yard short of the first down.
That's the fullback belly play that the defensive staff of BYU was worried about. So we're not worried that Notre Dame will beat us with any kind of a trick play, anything fancy, but we are concerned that with their big, powerful offensive line that they'll be able to take it and just run it right between the tackles, and we won't be able to do anything about it.
There's that full house T formation. Smith and McBride, 2 tight ends. 3rd and 1. Bettis has the first down. Doug Stone on the tackle of Bettis, who remains on the grass. And that's all Notre Dame needs is another key running back injury. All-American candidate Jerome Bettis still down after picking up the first down.
I couldn't really see exactly how he got hurt on the play, and let's take a look at it. Number 6, Jerome Bettis, the All-American candidate.
twisted down there.
Oh, there it is, right at the end of the play. The thigh jams his neck back. I think that's why you're seeing him.
So Bettis, who has gained 89 yards today, still down. We'll check him when we come back to South Bend. While we were away, Jerome Bettis left the field under his own power, now on the sideline and grimacing in some pain. Apparently his back, Chris.
Yeah, I think when the thigh of the BYU player hit his neck, it wrenched him backwards, and now he has some pain in the lower back. We'll keep an eye on him. Certainly a key member of this Notre Dame offense.
The ground game in high gear here in the third quarter as Ray Zellers replaces Jerome Bettis. Zellers, gripping tackles, almost broke free. Zellers, an 8-yard gain. Brad Clark and Derwin Gray made
David,
the
you want me to go and do Bettis?
So Ray Zellers, the Irish have averaged over 8 yards a play here in the third quarter. Certainly their offense now in high gear, especially on the ground. They've had only one pass in this drive.
Yeah, and interesting there that Lou Holtz goes to a new formation. 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, a single back. And you just have to wonder how healthy these running backs are. Is Reggie Brooks ready to run? He's back in now.
He's a tailback. Zellers the fullback. This is Brooks. Is he ready? He twists and turns and picks up a first down inside the 15 of BYU. Again, the safeties, Gray and Clark, are forced to make the tackle as Brooks breaks through the initial defense of the Cougars.
This Notre Dame offensive line is really beginning to take over the game. Lindsey Knapp, Aaron Taylor, Tim Ruddy, Todd Norman, of course, playing with the broken thumb now, Justin Hall. They're just overpowering BYU's defensive line.
In the 2 tight end formation, McBride and Smith have done a good job blocking on this drive. And to Brooks. Nice defensive play by Shad Hansen, the senior from Danville, California, #1 tackler on the Cougar squad, with a big play there.
Air Force coach Fisher DeBerry called Hansen the most underrated player in the WAC, and he certainly is talented. Here comes Jerome Bettis back in the game. He got a great ovation as he left the field, gets another one as he comes back on. Probably didn't like that run by Zellers, so that may have been a little too impressive.
Suddenly his back felt better.
Yeah.
12th play of the drive, only one pass so far. Option. Meyer to the 7.
Watch the block that Jerome Bettis, #6, throws on this play for Rick Meyer. This is the lead option, not the dive option. He'll get out in front and tie up the feet of Todd Herget, and that's what allowed Rick Meyer to break it down the field. Big third down play now, 3rd down and about 3. What we've seen from Lou Holtz so far is a willingness to go for it on 4th down, probably another 2-down situation. Wouldn't be surprised if we see back-to-back runs.
Burris in the backfield with Bettis and Lytle. Option again. Meyer keeps. Stopped at the 5, short of the first down. Held short of the markers by Doug Stone.
I believe Lou Holtz is going to go for it, even though a field goal here gives you an 8-point lead.
It'll be 4th down and a yard, and no sign of Hendrick, the kicker. Holtz, on a long touchdown drive in the first half, gambled twice on 4th down, once 4th and 9, and succeeded in both instances. Now they'll call a timeout. You saw Holtz signaling for a timeout. One last thought on the situation with 56 seconds left in the third, and the Irish up by 5. BYU and Notre Dame have traded touchdowns here in the third quarter. And already on this drive, Notre Dame has marched 75 yards, now facing a 4th and 1 from the BYU 5. Bettis scrambling for yardage. It'll be very close. The spot of the football will determine this.
They do not have it. You see the side judge coming in and barely marking it over the 5-yard line. That's not even close.
They're eyeballing it, and it would appear to be they're going to be a measurement.
Not even close.
I don't think they made it. What a huge defensive stand that would be by BYU after the Irish had driven 75 yards making a strong bid to put the game away.
He didn't make it.
No, didn't make it, not even close. So a 14-play, almost 7-minute drive results in 0 points by the Irish.
Well, you live by the sword, die by the sword. Lou Holtz all day has been going for it on 4th down, has a 100% success rate until that play. Now BYU with a chance to take the lead.
John Dockery.
Jerome Bettis during that timeout came off the field, and Lou Holtz asked him how he was. He waved Holtz off, said, "I'm fine." What happened to him, the doctor told me, was he was bent over backwards. He got a little strain on one side of his back, but he is fine. There are no problems with Bettis, even though he didn't make that first down.
Came up just short. And now Hancock for BYU from his own end zone. Crossing route behind Nowatzki, the intended receiver. And then Hancock paid for the effort as Devon McDonald was all over him after he had released the ball just a half second earlier.
You see Devon McDonald coming around, putting pressure on Hancock, who's looking at 1, 2, 3 wide receivers. When you're standing in your own end zone, Lavelle Edwards does not want you to go to your third man. Get rid of it. Remember, the BYU offense has already given up 7 points in this game the last time they had this kind of field position.
Well, that's the kind of day Ryan Hancock has had, and yet he has been very productive from the shotgun. Over Mooley's head and incomplete as Demetrius DeBose was defending there, coming in and putting the pressure on Hancock. And DeBose bent over.
I didn't see exactly what happened to Demetrius DeBose. Take a look, number 31, but he's bent over. He's going back into the huddle. He took a pretty good shot. Still don't know exactly what happened.
BYU desperately needs some breathing room here. They're at their own 5-yard line, 3rd and 10. Hancock's pass. Graves, the intended receiver. DeBose was back in coverage, and Burris was there too. That could have been close to interference.
Clearly the Notre Dame defender got there early, but I believe the call is going to be that Jeff Burris, while he did hit him, the ball was not catchable by Eric Drage. Watch Jeff Burris. Clearly there early. You can only see the shadow of the ball. But it looked like he got a hand on it, so you have to at least consider the possibility that he could have caught it.
No call, though, and now Hunter to punt with the win from the back of his own end zone. No pressure on him at all. The big guy takes aim and sends it booming downfield. Miller from the 30. Miller with a great return. Flags are down. Just tripped up. It'll come back, says Hunter. He's hit 65 yards with the help of the wind. And Miller's 27-yard return could be brought back.
Push in the back. If you can read lips, you just saw the referee say a push in the back. They'll take Notre Dame back inside the 40.
Well, it takes Hunter a little while to get it off, but once he puts the foot to it, it goes.
I talked to Brad Hunter on the field before the game. Watch his reaction. He knows he hit a great one. Nice leg extension, too. Yeah, gone. But he said that one time after a safety, he was up there getting ready to kick it, punting on after the safety, and the referee said, "All right, who's kicking the ball?" He said, "I am." He said, "Now, come on now, who's really kicking the ball?" So I'm telling you, I'm the punter.
Well, that one was out of here all the way back after the penalty now to the Notre Dame 35-yard line. Hunter with a 65-yard punt. Delayed handoff to Brooks. Dodges one man. Cuts back. Down at the 45-yard line. Gain of 10.
Boy, is he exciting in the open field. Chad Hansen, the middle linebacker, was on a blitz right up the middle, number 50. And he simply, a nice job by Jerome Bettis there, just getting a shoulder and allowing Reggie Brooks to make the play. The blitz got burned that time by Chad Hansen.
Third quarter coming to an end, featuring offensive football. Only one punt in that third quarter. It ends with Notre Dame in front. We'll be back to South Bend after these messages from your local station. tradition at Notre Dame, the playing of the 1812 overture before the fourth quarter, giving a new twist by the students.
Yeah, you see their hands in the shape of an L. This is a tribute to Lou Holtz. They're saying Lou and basically bowing down to Lou Holtz. Last night, Holtz at the pep rally had everybody fired up when he ended it by throwing down the microphone and saying, "We will not lose at home again."
Well, he has BYU to hold off here in the fourth quarter, and Boston College and Penn State coming up. Bettis out of the backfield with a reception for a first down. There's a surprise for you. They send Bettis out of the backfield for a reception, his 10th catch of the season.
You remember Skip Holtz telling us that Jerome Bettis may be the best receiver that he's got coming out of the backfield. That time he simply ran by Todd Herget, who's one of BYU's better defensive players.
And now Notre Dame is driving to open the fourth quarter, leading 21-16. Dawson and Griggs, two wide receivers to the right. Brooks the tailback, Bettis the fullback. Meyer on the option. Flag down as Meyer keeps and picks up good yardage. It would be enough for the first down if the flag does not nullify it. It was a 15-yard keeper by Meyer.
You don't even have to get the call when you see Lou Holtz with that kind of an expression. Enough said.
He had to tie it onto his belt. That was the problem. That would have looked much better.
Like he was throwing a yo-yo in the air, and the headset came back to hit him.
Holding, offense, 10-yard penalty, spot a foul.
Big penalty. That first down would have put the ball inside the 30. See if we can pick up the hold on the left side of the screen. Number 5. Now, I believe it happened on the backside. Ray Griggs got a hand on Derwin Gray, but I believe it happened on the backside. Really a meaningless block on the backside tight end.
He might have been right.
I don't think that was a penalty.
Meyer with a handoff to Brooks, picking his way forward. Here's Reggie Brooks. Just tackled by the last man that had a shot at him, Derwin Gray. Yeah, I think Brooks is back. That hip is feeling much better. That one, 25 yards.
It's unfortunate that sometimes when you talk about Heisman Trophy candidates, all the preseason publicity takes precedence over what actually happens on the field. Clearly, Reggie Brooks has been the best back, the best offensive player for Notre Dame this year, and yet Rick Meyer and Jerome Bettis consistently get more attention.
Irish first down, moving early in the fourth quarter. Meyer dodges the first man, Kent the second, who is Todd Herget. And on the option play, he is stopped for a loss of 3 yards.
They continue to try to run this option play. That time the lead, once again, the same play that they picked up 10 on before. Meyer lucky to hold on to the football. He never saw Todd Herget coming from behind.
Herget, a Canadian native. No doubt watching the World Series with a lot of interest. It's 2nd and 13, actually, between 12 and 13 for the first. Pressure on Meyer. Nice pass to Bettis. Meyer, just a split second before he was hit, got rid of the football.
I don't know what they call that in the Notre Dame offense. We used to call it a scat read by the back, where he really has no blocking protection. From time to time, you can't allow your blockers, your back, to block every single time. Here, Rick Meyer barely able to get it off right at the last minute. Nice job of waiting for Bettis to get around the corner.
Kevin Nickel almost had a sack of Meyer. Instead, it's a completion to Bettis. Now 3rd and 6. Delayed handoff to Bettis. Following blockers. Bettis to the end zone. Touchdown.
This is the counter tray. You see the guard and the tackle pulling, and this is a mismatch. You get Justin Hall out there on Derwin Gray. An easy touchdown for Jerome Bettis.
Justin Hall buried Derwin Gray, and Bettis was able to romp into the end zone. Hendrick for the extra point. And the kick is good. So Notre Dame with 12:46 left in the game, taking command, up 28-16. Notre Dame 28-16. Jerome Bettis.
6 for 6, baby. 6 for 6, I'm back.
He is back. The irrepressible Jerome Bettis, 6 for 6. And Notre Dame has taken control of the game, now up by 28-16. As the kickoff is down to the end zone, giving us a chance to check in once again with Jim Lampley for a college football update. Jim?
All right, thank you, Tom. Bold dreams fade at Wisconsin. Trailing Indiana 10-3 in Bloomington, the Badgers got a late chance, but in the last minute missed twice from the 2-yard line. The 4th down pass from Bevel off the hands of tight end Michael Rowan. Indiana holds on to win 10-3, Wisconsin's 3rd loss. Tom and Chris.
All right, Jim, 28-16 here. Notre Dame with 12:46 left in the game. Hancock with protection. And Drage couldn't handle it. It was a bit behind him. And Drage has been held to only 1 reception so far today. The game has turned around really here in the second half in favor of the Irish. Look at the yards by quarters. And just taking the second half, Notre Dame with 230 second half yards versus 132 in the first half. BYU had 220 in the first half, only 78 in the second.
But Notre Dame has given up more than double the points in the 4th quarter that they've given up in any other quarter. So this will be a real test for the Notre Dame defense. BYU has had a lot of success throwing the football today.
Hancock wide open, Drage on a crossing pattern. Had a little trouble hanging on to it, and that slowed his momentum a bit, perhaps, and he stopped short of the first down by John Covington.
Eric Drage has really been a non-factor so far in this ball game. A couple of short passes. We talked about earlier in the show, he's 2nd in the nation, averaging 125 yards per game. Today, just 15 yards.
Drage has scored 10 touchdowns this season.
Those are always fun to catch, running full speed over the middle, not knowing exactly where the linebackers are.
299 yards passing now for Hancock. And that'll put him over 300.
Whoa.
Let's see, that ball not free. It'll be incomplete. Rex took a gigantic smash from Burris and Covington.
Byron Rex wants to get the license plate of this truck. Jeff Burris, wow. Not only did he put the big lick on Byron Rex, but he also put his helmet right on the football and broke it up. That would have been a first down for BYU. Great play by Jeff Burris.
Hunter to punt. This is the first meeting between BYU and Notre Dame, but a BYU quarterback, Steve Young, and a Notre Dame running back, Ricky Waters, are combining with the San Francisco 49ers. And here's Hunter, 6'7", 280-pound Hunter runs for a first down. 13 yards, it's good. Didn't he tell us yesterday, he said, I'll never fake a punt with him back there.
Let me tell you something. Look at him smile. You think he likes it? I wonder if that's a call play. Look at Brad Hunter. I think he did that on his own.
Let's see what Lavelle Edwards, let's see if we can catch his reaction. I don't know.
When he caught the punt, he looked up before kicking it because Notre Dame didn't rush anybody. They're dropping back. I don't know. Looked like the blockers were out in front.
Yeah, I thought they had blockers there.
They even set us up, Tom.
Yeah,
they told us.
So.
They said no way would he ever fake a punt. Matter of fact, he said, if you ever see me run a fake punt, I'm about to retire. I'm not sure Lavelle's ready to retire.
Well, Hunter rambles 13 yards. And Hancock, nice catch by Rex. That one was a bit behind him, but he turned around to grab it. In a gain of about 8 yards. So I don't think Lavelle is going to retire, but Brian Hunter 280 pounds running for a first down from punt formation.
Boy, has this been a fun game to watch. Going for it on fourth down.
Look at him.
He's still bragging about it. Look at Brad. Yeah, he got a little snap, said, yeah, that's a good run.
We couldn't reach him to pat him on the back.
Who would have wanted to tackle him? That's the question.
Dangerous pass and a flag down. That's incomplete, intended for Drage. Good defense by John Covington. Could be a holding call. It is against BYU. When Lavelle Edwards sent Hunter on that run from punt formation, a lot of the fans here thought that earthquake predicted for California had come east as he thundered down the sideline. I still can't get over that.
I believe it was Evan Pilgrim who got caught for the hold on the right side, the right guard, number 70. See if we can pick up the hold. There it is. When you get the arm extended around the neck and the chokehold, no choice. The referee right there to see that. Sets up a second and long now, second down and 13. For some teams, you think maybe insurmountable, but certainly not for the BYU Cougars.
And that quick strike passing game, although 3 times today inside the 20, they've had to settle for the field goal. Or not inside the 20, but close to that red zone. Hancock rolled right into the defense and threw it up for grabs, and Burris is the one that grabs it. Interception by Jeff Burris of Notre Dame. His 3rd interception of the season, and Hancock rolled right into the defense and then just threw it up for grabs.
Well, he's a young quarterback who just made a huge mistake. Notre Dame came with the blitz. Once again, Demetrius DeBose blitzing right up the middle. They send 8, and Ryan Hancock literally throwing it up for grabs, the very definition of that. And Jeff Burris once again coming up with the big play. You know, he does so many nice things, Ryan Hancock, but from time to time he can really pull the boneheaded play as well.
But just starting his 4th game, and here's Brooks. How in the world did he get away from those tacklers? They had him behind the line. Nathan Hall finally brings him down.
This will not be a pleasant phone call for Mr. Hancock. He said, Coach, I'm sorry. That's all you can do. You go over there and you say, Coach, I'm sorry. If they give me the ball back, I'll try it one more time. But he is really taking BYU out of this football game with that play.
Only his 4th collegiate start today, and he's passed for over 300 yards. But that was a costly interception as he just made an ill-advised throw of the football. Brooks again and again. Reggie Brooks to the 15. Nathan Hall stopped him, and is he exciting or what? 16 yards on that one as he just somehow manages to evade several tacklers.
Scott Srala at 6'5", 265 pounds, had him dead to right. And Reggie Brooks just bounced right off of him. This young man is just so exciting to watch him play the game of football. What a competitor.
So Brooks, bothered by a hip flexor injury, playing sparingly in the first half. He's carried 14 times and is over 100 yards, 106 yards rushing.
If I'm not mistaken, all of those yards are in the second half.
Here's Zellers, delayed handoff to the 8-yard line.
This is the kind of football that Notre Dame played against Pittsburgh. Now they're once again simply wearing out this BYU defense in the second half. You know, a lot of times with the running game, you have to have the patience with it. Continue to pound, and then in the fourth quarter, coaches love to say you win games with the running game in the fourth quarter when you eventually wear out that defense, and that's what's happening to BYU now.
Meyer to the 5-yard line. Give him about 3 yards, 3 or 4. Herget and Gray stopping Meyer, who will have to pick the sod out of his helmet. And Bettis ready to return.
One very interesting thing that Rick Meyer had to say was, you know, Lou Holtz took a lot of the heat after that Stanford game, being out-coached or whatever. But he said the bottom line was 2 of his star players, Jerome Bettis and myself, simply played awful football games, and that's why we lost.
Bettis fumbled twice. Meyer had a dismal passing day and a key interception in the end zone. Stanford came from 16-0 down to win. 32-16. Bettis. Raw power, Jerome Bettis. Hancock's interception leads to the Notre Dame touchdown. Hancock, a la Danny Ainge, the former BYU baseball and basketball player, could be back next year as a 2-sport star. He's likely to be drafted first or second round in the spring, but that interception led to the Notre Dame score. Notre Dame power football led to the last touchdown.
Irv Smith, Justin Hall, Todd Norman, Tim Ruddy, a pair of double teams on the down lineman, and then Jerome Bettis does the rest. Derwin Gray simply overwhelmed by Jerome Bettis.
Strong kick by Hendrick out of the end zone with the wind. And this has to bring a smile to the face of Lou Holtz.
And to Rick Meyer. Boy, it sure is easy when you've got a 250-pound fullback that can do that. But the real story of this second half has been the offensive line of Notre Dame. They have dominated.
Another 6 for 6.
Well, let's say 6 for 66 and 6 for 73 and for 84. He's had a little help along the way.
Both Bettis and Brooks over 100 yards rushing, with most of the damage done here in the second half. In Brooks' case, all of it. Hancock is sacked. Looked like Devon McDonald was the first to reach Ryan Hancock.
Devon McDonald is a classic tweener as far as the pros are concerned, but he has shown tremendous speed and quickness in coming around the corner all season long. We have talked about so many players on this defensive line, Flanagan and Brigham Young, but as far as getting after the quarterback, Devon McDonald is clearly the best on this Notre Dame defense.
Devon's twin brother Ricardo was an All-American for Pitt last year and now is playing in the NFL
with the Bengals.
That one was almost intercepted off the hand of the intended receiver, and Brian McGee, the freshman, nearly had his first collegiate pickoff. Hall was the man that was the intended recipient of the Hancock pass. Devon McDonald had a younger brother that was killed in a gang-related incident back in Patterson, New Jersey last summer, and Devon keeps the picture of his deceased brother on the wall of his room, his dorm room here at Notre Dame, and after each game returns and says that one was for you. That was the summer before last. His brother was killed, the summer of '91. Hancock's pass into traffic. Intended for Nowatzki. Was it intercepted? They came down with simultaneous possession, but I think Tom Carter wrestled away the football. Well, Carter was telling his defensive back teammates that BYU is going to bring it downtown, but high risk can be high return. He got a return on that interception for Tom Carter. It's his 4th of the season.
Tom Carter has been waiting for an opportunity to play against a passing team like BYU. Because of the conservative style of play that Notre Dame uses, he hasn't really been given a chance to showcase his talents, but what a great athlete he is. He runs a 4.3 40, has a 40-inch vertical jump, played center on his high school team, and he's only about 5'11".
They had a 6'8" player on the team, and still he was the center, averaged 14 points a game for a state top 5 basketball team. He told us he had a size 14 shoe that he wore when he was 14 years old.
14 years old, and the doctors told him that he would be 6'6" or 6'7". He says, I'm still 5'11". Haven't grown an inch, and maybe it's for the best because you can't play corner in the National Football League. And out comes Bettis, and out comes Brooks, and a well-deserved hand for those 2 young men.
There's Carter, who stepped in front to make that interception.
Very bright, very articulate.
In fact, he's going to graduate in 3.5 years as a finance major. He'll get his degree, a la Rick Meyer, at the end of the fall semester 1993. Meyer will get his degree in 3.5 years at the end of this semester.
How frustrating is it for a defense to have Brooks and Bettis go out of the game and then have Lytle and Zellers and Becton and Stafford and those guys? It's almost like they don't miss a beat. Great athletes here.
Well, the BYU Cougars stayed with powerful Notre Dame for a while, but with the offensive line wearing down the Cougar defense and some mistakes here in the fourth quarter by Ryan Hancock, Notre Dame has taken command. Zellers.
This is really a good game for Notre Dame to have seen a passing attack like Boston or like BYU, because Boston College is coming up on the schedule, and they certainly are every bit as talented, if not more so, at throwing the football than are these BYU Cougars.
Lou Holtz telling the pep rally no more losses at home and with a tough remaining schedule. As John Dockery was saying before the game, a pivotal contest here for Notre Dame. Lytle. Dean Lytle can't quite get there. Here's what Notre Dame has left for this season. They play Navy at the Meadowlands next week. 2 tough home games left, Boston College and Penn State, and on the road then to a much improved USC team. So tough remaining schedule for the Irish after their game against Navy next week. Then they close out with 3 ranked teams.
Yeah, Boston College probably the surprise of college football so far this year with that big win over Penn State, shocking Joe Paterno's troops.
First and goal now from the 1-yard line. Lytle, who got him close, can't quite get him in. Dean Lytle, the junior running back from Brevard, North Carolina, former North Carolina State high school champion in the 100 and 200 meter dashes. In fact, was undefeated at 200 meters. Played defensive end for a while here at Notre Dame.
Tom, you have to go back to the job that Reggie Brooks did in the third quarter of this football game, though. Coming in, not 100%, but really dominated, took over, and allowed Notre Dame to win this game.
This is Jeff Burris, the safety. He squirts into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown of the season. Burris, who comes in that power running back formation, Mr. Do-It-All for the Irish, scores his 2nd TD.
He's Mr. Versatility. He's played strong safety, free safety, cornerback, and now scores his 2nd touchdown as a running back. Lavelle Edwards is now getting a feel for just how powerful this Notre Dame offense can be.
Well, as their coaches were telling us, and which we have heard all the coaches say, Notre Dame has so many different offensive weapons. Pendergast is on now to try the extra point, his first of the game, and he boots it through. Pendergast, who is a star on the Notre Dame soccer team. In fact, the Notre Dame and BYU soccer teams got together last night. Notre Dame won that one as well on the way to victory here. With the Cookie Monster, producer David Michaels, director Andy Rosenberg, Tom Hammond, Chris Collinsworth, and John Dockery from Notre Dame Stadium. Irish have taken control of the game in the 2nd half. Well, we have a couple of Irish backs over 100 yards rushing on the day, so let's take a look at the Xerox Sports Facts, who was the last Irish back to rush for 100 yards a game for the entire season. averaging over 100 a game in the entire season. We'll give you that sports fact momentarily. We'll give you the answer right after this play. Ryan Hancock set to put it up as the Irish getting some reserves on the field. And they have to take a timeout because they didn't have all their players in place. Rick Minter's defense getting some reserves in and having to spend a timeout, though it doesn't really matter at this point. It just gives us a chance to give you the answer to our sports fact. Last Irish running back to average 100 yards a game for an entire season. It occurred in 1985. And it was Alan Pinkett. He had 1,100 total rushing yards that season, averaging exactly 100 yards per game. And let's go down to John Dockery on the sideline.
Tom, how are you? I'm way over here on the far side of the field in the stands with the Nowatzki family, and that's Marcia, Carl, and Carrie. And what were you telling me about Tim's touchdown today for BYU?
Today was his first college touchdown ever.
First ever?
Yes, in college.
Wow, that's a special day. And I know it was kind of a bittersweet time for you over the last few days. Can you share that with us?
Well, this past week, his grandfather, who of course he was very, very close to, died. And yesterday he was able to be his pallbearer also. So Tim, really, we had such mixed emotions because he was so pumped up for this game at the beginning of the week. And then I had to call him and let him know about his grandfather. But he was able to be with us and the rest of the family. And he really appreciated that and came out today to play.
And I understand, and all of you coming out today, 68 strong here from Michigan City, just 35 miles away from Notre Dame.
Yes, it is. 35 miles away, yes.
First touchdown against Notre Dame right in the shadow of the dome. It couldn't have happened to a better time.
Was he a Notre Dame fan growing up? Were you Notre Dame?
Yes, we burnt all that and threw it in the garbage when they never sent him one letter. He was recruited by Michigan, Nebraska, and a lot of the Big Ten, and UCLA and other teams, but never one letter from Notre Dame. So,
well, thank you for sharing that with us. Good luck to you. Tom?
All right, John. So some measure of revenge with a touchdown catch for Nowatzki today. If you'll remember, we heard him on the sideline after that catch mentioning his grandparents, his grandfather passing away, and Nowatzki coming on to play today and scoring a touchdown, his first collegiate TD.
One of the stories for this ball game, though, involves another BYU receiver, and that's Eric Drage. Notre Dame and Rick Minter has really come up with a good defensive scheme today to take away the second leading wide receiver in the nation. Only 3 catches, I believe, on the afternoon right now for Eric Drage.
26 yards. He came in to this game with 3 consecutive games over 100 yards receiving. Notre Dame took him out of the game, a non-factor, as you said earlier. Hey, Mooley on that completion almost lost the football. Got it back and takes it across the 40, tackled by Jeff Burris.
Seeing a couple of good freshmen in the backfield for Notre Dame. One, Brian McGee, who just missed that tackle, which made me think of him, but he played awfully well against Pitt when they had some injuries in their secondary. And also Bobby Taylor, the basketball player who may well be walking on for Notre Dame later this year. Play a little college basketball, boy. He can do it all.
Said he would as long as his grades were good. Here's Ryan Hancock about to attempt his 51st pass of the game. Incomplete, broken up by Carter, intended for Doman. Don't forget to join us for NFL football tomorrow. It all starts with NFL Live at 12:30. There's the lineup you'll see. First game, Cincinnati-Houston or Seattle the Giants. 4 o'clock game, Indy-Miami, Denver-San Diego, or Cleveland-New England. Check your local listings.
Cincy thinks they have a little better game plan ready for Houston this time around. Warren Moon,
I don't mean to be rude, but that brings a chuckle.
Had a field day the last time they played the Bengals.
I watched the Monday night game at Pittsburgh, and I can't help but chuckle at that. Hancock's pass complete as they picked up the Notre Dame blitz, and Rex makes the reception.
Sort of ironic that they now are going back to the middle of the field.
Lou Holtz has just been flagged. He ran onto the field complaining, and he got a flag thrown.
And got a Lou chant.
Lou from the crowd.
Oh, wait a minute. Somebody give him a helmet. He wants to play. What? Yeah. Well, this is the most emotion we've seen.
This rivals that lecture he gave you and Dockery after the Michigan game.
Wait a minute. This has turned into big-time wrestling. Looked like Hulk Hogan going after the referee. He's still hot. Lou, you're up 42-16. Did he get thrown out? Pete Bursich on the blitz. There's the tackle, the takedown, no question about it. There was a hold.
I think he was demonstrating that hold to the referee. It got only mixed reviews, I might add. Valdez with a catch in front of Carter. We're going to have a Lou cam isolate him throughout the game.
There may not be any grass left on this field after Lou gets finished. He's upset. He's a fiery guy. Really is intense. Doesn't like the idea. Watch this one more time. This is the neck hold right there. I got you. The referee said, "Now, Lou, you're not really going to flip me over your hip, are you?"
Now, John Dockery is going to have to go down to confront Lou perhaps a little later. He might be the victim of one of those holds. I don't know if Lou has any other holds in his arsenal. Hancock's pass for Drage. Good position by Carter.
Really an outstanding afternoon for Tom Carter. He has picked his game up a notch. It looks like when we talked to Lou Holtz yesterday, we sort of questioned some of the defensive backs and the way that they have been playing so far off the wide receivers this year. Well, this afternoon, Rick Minner has them up much closer, and when you have the athletic ability of a Tom Carter, it is certainly the right strategy to employ.
It's been an impressive second half performance by the Irish, offense and defense. Almost a shoestring catch by Steve Christensen.
You don't think Doc could get him to show us that hold one more time? Now, I would love to see. I've got to admit, I would love to see Lou with a chokehold on John Dockery. I think there are about 1 billion Notre Dame fans around the country who might like to see the same thing. The sideline slasher. Here's the reverse angle on this now. Says right there, I've got him. Look, the referee. You see what he said? Now, whoa, wait a minute.
How many times do you think we'll see that now in the next few days?
Oh, that's great.
Burris with his second interception. Well, Jeff Burris hasn't had too bad a day. 2 interceptions and 1 touchdown run from the running back spot. 3rd interception tossed by Hancock today.
Rick Minner's defense from Notre Dame has really been doing some kind of a job here in the second half. They came out, it looked like in the first half, I told you, I thought BYU may really begin to click in the second half in much the same way that Stanford did, but Minner made the halftime adjustments and has really shut out BYU here in the second half.
BYU scored on its first possession of the second half, and since then it's been all Notre Dame. Here's Kevin McDougal in at quarterback and having to call a timeout. McDougal against Pitt got to play in the second quarter. We asked Lou Holtz yesterday if that would happen today. He said no, the second unit hasn't earned it this week. Timeout taken by the Irish. 2:33 left in the game.
Ryan Hancock, take a shower, he's hurt.
2:33 left in the game from South Bend. BYU quarterback Ryan Hancock apparently injuring his knee, getting some consoling words from Byron Rex and the trainers cutting the bandage and the brace off to examine that knee. Mr. Stats Elliott Kalb tells us he has passed for over 300 yards against the Irish today in a losing cause. Pollard and Miller, wide receivers, getting some playing time here as McDougal takes his first snap and hands it to Zellers.
And McDougal hasn't had a bad year this year either. He's 4 for 4 with 3 touchdowns. His quarterback rating must be about 975. You can't be any more efficient than what Kevin McDougal has been thus far this year.
I don't know how you figure all that quarterback rating, but it's 532. Most players are down somewhere. 100 is pretty good, I guess. And as we pointed out, Hancock, who has a rating of 100 and change, would be leading the nation if he played enough, 161. And now Paul Fela is on at quarterback for the Irish. Fela plays also on the baseball team for Notre Dame, and Hancock struck him out in the game this last baseball season at the King Dome in Seattle in a tournament up there.
Well, I saw Fela before the game, and he said, I don't remember that. He may have, but I don't remember. I do remember he threw hard, but I don't remember striking out. But he didn't want me to go back and research it any.
Hope you'll stay tuned for boxing coming up after this one as Paul Fela goes out of the game. Post-game show follows the end of this game, and then this boxing match between Gamache and Lopez.
What about the one between Holtz and Dockery? That's the one I'm staying tuned for.
McDougal. His pass is complete. Well, that's his first non-touchdown completion. Well, that's not true. He was 4 for 4 with 3 touchdowns prior to that.
I think they put McDougal back in the game just to throw the pass.
Well, they're having the quarterbacks alternate now, Fela and McDougal bringing in the plays, and now it'll be Fela's turn.
All right. Never seen that before.
If you're interested, Rick Meyer finished today hitting 12 of 17 passes, 152 yards, and a pair of touchdowns. Dean Lytle. Inside the final minute, Notre Dame breaking open a competitive game with a strong second half surge. That offensive line began to pound. Both Brooks and Bettis were over 100 yards rushing, and they put away the Cougars here in the second half and will win impressively 42-16 in a game we said that they needed to win to begin the turnaround of their season. And with the win, they'll go to 5-1-1 with 3 ranked teams remaining in their 4 games left. Charles Stafford gets a carry, and that'll be the final play of the game. Lavelle Edwards heading for a midfield meeting with Lou Holtz. I think Lou has calmed down a little bit now. 440 total yards of offense for the nation's leading offensive team, Notre Dame. 308 of that total coming in a strong second half.
2 great college football coaches in that picture.
Rick Meyer engineers the victory, and it's time for us to go to the sideline and John Dockery.
Thank you, Tom. Finally all came together in the fourth quarter, Notre Dame football. Who are the catalysts, Coach?
Well, first of all, I've got to apologize on getting upset on the officiating. It just is one of those things, and I should not lose my poise like that on the sideline. But I think just the offense and the defense came together and rose to the challenge, and we just finally played well as a team. And we wanted to play well in the fourth quarter. If you asked me when I wanted to win this game, it was in the fourth quarter.
Why were you so upset with the officials?
No special reason, except there were an awful lot of things that just happened during the course of the call. And we had a blitz, and it was I mean, we got to be fair to our football players, and I'm not saying anything. I shouldn't do it. I should let them officiate, but doggone it, I just have to look at the film and go from there. You know, I just wanted to send a message, and I feel sorry for our kids because they're fighting their tail off and ought to have the same things happen as everybody else. And but there's no excuse for it.
That was some headlock on there, I'll tell you. It was
No. What I was doing was I was showing them what exactly happened when our linebacker blitzed and came free and didn't get the thing on. And yet, you know, I can't comment on, hey, you know, I should not have lost my poise at that time. That was all. But the game was over, and the game was out of doubt. And I believed in it strongly. I felt for our kids. That was all.
Congratulations on a big win, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Coach, we'll put the headlock on Dockery as soon as we get out of here. Let's take a look at our Chevrolet players of the game. Tim Nowatzki from Michigan City, Indiana for BYU, and Reggie Brooks from Notre Dame. In conjunction with this program, Chevrolet will contribute $2,000 to the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators for disbursement to deserving college students so that they may continue their education. Thanks to Andy and Rose, our spotters. 42-16, Jim Lampley, a fun day in South Bend.